So guys, this one is for the damage, then the fixing. Watch our previous episode.
Yeah, he's smart. He's doing the marketing for the first one.
Show us or tell us. Okay, you can't show us, but let's want to show.
Is that what you meant? Okay. And I do this to heavier guys all the time because there's easy way.
Even heavy guys.
Yeah.
And I lock.
Okay.
From here, I can lift, even if it's taller, right? So I'll seize my height. I'll just grab it like this.
Yeah.
And I'll just bring my knee, and I'll just right in the balls.
Nick, I can see you're already in the mood.
He's the one that picked me up.
No.
You can show us whether or not your
Yes.
experience with this guy.
Yeah.
He's trying to conclude that I'm better than you.
Oh, okay.
No. We do this behind camera.
We take the cameras out. 10 minutes each round. You knock out the guy, and you get 5 minutes to bring him back up to fight again.
You
Okay,
knock him out,
knock him out,
and you have to wake him up.
To
You
clarify,
can wake him up in 5 minutes. Yeah.
you have to knock him out twice.
Yes, basically. It's a personal preference. Some people just don't like getting punched in the face.
Yes.
And you kind of have to be a special kind of fucked up to like it. And I am that special kind of fucked up, unfortunately. And I do like
I
that.
think I belong to your category.
Exactly. Thank you. You know? And when I get hit, I'm like, yeah.
It reminds you of your masculinity.
Yeah.
Of course.
Which, of course, it's a deeper topic, right?
Yeah, he's a very handsome gentleman. You could have dinner. Oh, sorry, his wife is here. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful episode of This or That. This or That podcast is a professional segment of Wet Waters. What we do is we pick concepts in society that are easily misunderstood. In our last episode, we picked a very beautiful concept, chiropractic versus physiotherapy. It was a very wonderful conversation we had. And I'm assuring you today, this episode will be even more insightful. Why? Because we are diving deep into the world of mixed martial arts. There are some people that go into mixed martial arts for the sake of competition. I mean, if you're still young, right? Or some persons take it up as a style of self-defense. So this episode of This or That is meant for you. So sit back, relax, and I promise you it's going to be a very insightful segment. We are jumping into the world of mixed martial arts, Muay Thai versus Brazilian Jit Jitsu. I know some persons might argue that there are other forms of mixed martial art, okay, but we picked these two. So maybe you want us to treat some other forms in our next episode. You can also drop that in the comments. And guys, please feel free to drop your comments in the comment sections. If you have questions you want to ask this seasoned guest in the house. So without further ado, I would like us to meet our guest. First, we have Nicholas, an ACE certified personal trainer and a Muay Thai instructor with 7 years of experience in the art of 8 limbs. Yeah, as you can see, 7 years is not a small number. Yeah, this guy is very seasoned. And then from the world of grappling, we have Alistair. He's a brown belt holder in Brazilian Jit Jitsu. He's a very gentleman. We had a very good conversation over the phone a few weeks ago. And he has 6 years of competition experience in submission grappling, Olympic wrestling, and judo. So the best person to talk about BJJ is this guy we have in the house. I'll be meeting them in a moment. And he's also a former BJJ wrestling and MMA instructor in Australia. You see, this is not just something we are doing in Malaysia. We are bringing people from all over the world, okay? All right, so we'll be getting to meet our guys in a moment. And yes, welcome, Mr. Lister. Welcome,
Thank
Nicholas.
you. Okay.
Yeah,
Welcome.
it's
Thank you.
nice to
Thank
have you
you.
guys on board. It's nice to have professionals like this on the segment. So, guys, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and what exactly inspired you to go into this discipline. So, who do I start with? Mota or BJJ? Drop in the comment section.
Let's go with BJJ. Let's go with BJJ.
No, let's go with you first because he introduced
Okay,
you first.
okay.
Yeah, so Mr. K.
Okay, we're going to go anti-clockwise.
Mr. K, okay.
Mr. K.
Mr. K? Okay, perfect.
All right.
Okay. So, my name is Nicholas Augustine. I have started Muay Thai when I was 16. And the main reason why I started Muay Thai, in fact, was actually to join the military when I was a wee young lad and wanted to die for stupid reasons.
Oh, interesting.
But then I did Krav Maga originally for a year with our mutual friend Ben Jihad. Still wonderful Krav Maga instructor at Jit Academy right now. I decided that I needed more striking experience because my dad was in the military before, and he was a boxer. So he taught me the basics of striking. But then I realized that we have 4 limbs,
Yeah.
so let's use all 4 limbs. And I decided to join a Muay Thai class with Conrado Fulan, which is one of the best Muay Thai instructors in Malaysia,
Yeah.
if I do say so myself.
Mm.
Yeah, he taught me everything I know, and I fell in love with the art of 8 limbs. So that's why I'm here till this day.
Interesting. That's a very inspiring story. From the world of grappling, please, Alistair, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, I don't know how far you want me to go back. My history
Just keep
started.
it in 1 minute.
I was about martial arts in general. I was about 5. I don't know, about 8. Sorry, I was about 8.
Interesting. That's pretty early.
It was me and my sister. Yeah. So this one's the article from Australia.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I shared with Ho.
This is an article on Mr. Alistair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this one I shared with Ho. This one was about a year ago.
You got an article written about you?
Yeah. It wasn't. I didn't pull them in. Somebody else. One of my
Don't
students.
worry, Nick. We will write an article about you.
Thank you.
I write a lot about you. It's just in my phone.
Someone write about me, please. Thank you.
Okay, so about 8 years old. That's when I first started off martial arts in general. That was with traditional Japanese type Shaolin martial art called Shorinji Kempo. So that was the start. I quit because I hated it, but my dad got me into it. And then eventually I was in high school and I figured out that I was very average at every sport. Every sport possible that I tried, I was very average. I don't know if I told you the story over the years, but so we met when he first started, even before he started Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So we've been quite close. And then this was when I was 16. I was alone on my bike, going around the city in high school, and I found a Muay Thai gym. It's the MMA gym. It's called Taipei MMA, TMMA.
Okay.
So that was the first place I started. And there they had, most of the classes were Muay Thai classes. So that's when I started first, was Muay Thai / kickboxing.
Yeah.
That was my history as well. Like I started off as a Muay Thai fighter, but I think more so kickboxing. Taipei, it was more so kickboxing style than traditional Muay Thai. And then eventually I came back to Malaysia. I moved to KL, and randomly, just next to my dad's office was Monarchy MMA. And that was my first gym. It was in Wisma MPL.
Yeah.
So I still keep the photo. I try to look at it every few months of my first class. Coincidentally, they took a photo. I signed up.
Inspiring to see.
Yeah, it was nice to see. I signed up with, what's the name of Ben's assistant, the French girl?
Yeah. Is it Kristen?
No.
No.
Anyway,
yeah,
she signed me up because he mentioned Ben before. And from there, she said, I know you like Muay Thai. You do Muay Thai, you don't need for like a year, 2 years. Would you like to try the Jiu Jitsu? We have Coach Professor Bruno. And he still, I still see him as my coach, even though I don't train with him regularly.
Yeah.
Until today, I still see him as like a authority figure, leadership figure in my life.
Yeah.
Throughout my whole time jiu-jitsu. And it started on that day when, I can't remember her name, Celine or something.
Yes,
Yeah?
yeah.
She introduced me to jiu-jitsu, asked me to try. So I tried it out.
Interesting.
Not the day I signed up, but the first time I came in, I bought a cheap rash guard, Lonsdale, cheap pants.
Yeah.
I think I still have them. They're from, what's this one? Sports Direct. I went to Sports Direct.
Yeah. Sports Direct.
And then
Yeah,
bought them
Malaysia.
there.
Yeah.
Try them out. Do you remember Big John? Yeah. Big John, he was blue belt at the time, tossed me around. The feeling of being
Tossed around.
Okay. But this was my first proper class.
Yeah.
I mucked about a lot back in high school with my friends. But this was my first proper jiu-jitsu class. Before that, it was just watching, jiu-jitsu videos online, Bas Rutten, old MMA videos and instructionals. And then from there, I realized that I really don't know what I'm doing. It felt like I was in like a roller coaster or a washing machine. Everyone tells you the same thing. It feels like you're just getting spun around. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So you're around. You're looking here. Next thing you know, you're looking there. You're facing in the room. And then I was saying like, okay, I'll commit more to Muay Thai first, and I'll do Jiu-Jitsu like a little bit. And then eventually, a few years down the line, I wasn't sure what I'm gonna do, and then I had to make a decision: Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. This was maybe about 4 years ago. And I realized, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that Jiu-Jitsu has a ranking system.
Yes.
Muay Thai just implemented theirs 2 years ago in Thailand.
But still,
It's still
not
not
very,
with the armbands.
Yeah.
It's still very new. So if there was a way to tell people,
You're more experienced.
like how would I have to tell them? Other than fighting them, I don't want to fight people. I have to say it or write it out.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu
But
is
fighting
round
them
up.
is fun.
But
It's fun, but-
I mean, I would be puzzled if that is the major reason you switched from Muay Thai completely to BJJ.
Of course, I love both. Okay. I did get more injuries from Muay Thai as well, which was
And you were
another
pretty
factor.
much the same
I love them
average of
both. I was average on both. Okay, so when all the way back to the beginning, I was average in every sport except for martial arts. Somehow I excelled in martial arts
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah. You just had an inclination.
Some reason I quite liked it. I pushed quite quickly ahead with it. I don't know what it was. And then I had to make a choice one day.
Yeah.
I was working full time. I had a partner who I was living with. I had to choose, you know. I didn't have time for everything.
Yeah.
I didn't have money for a lot.
Yeah.
So if I was going to compete, which one was going to do? So jiu-jitsu was the way to go because I
Interesting.
knew how fast I could progress in it.
Yeah.
If I get a belt, I would keep the belt.
And there was a decent ranking system,
Yes.
at least to back up your years of experience.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
enough for me to feel comfortable that it's worthwhile to follow.
Interesting.
Muay Thai was like, if I stopped for a while, my skills was the only way to show.
Okay.
And now my skills have deteriorated, right? So it says, oh, he's not as good as
it's not
you
as
say.
good.
Whereas jiu-jitsu
Interesting.
is like
Interesting. We were talking about ranking, right? The ranking system, right, of these sports. We'll go deeper into that.
Yeah.
I've been in Muay Thai for 6 to 8 months. And I can tell you that there is a lot that goes in there. you know, it's not easy. I mean, you see Kamaru Usman in UFC is being knocked out, and you are screaming, and you read the comment section, and you hear people blast, "Oh, this guy is messing up, blah blah blah, this and that." Bro, man, you go into the ring and take a punch, you know that it's a very different ball game.
It's
You
good
know.
to you reach there. It's good to know you reached there.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the
experience is the best teacher, right? So they say.
What does Mike Tyson say? Like, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Exactly. All right, guys. So let's take a step back. Let's relax. That's for the introduction. Now we're going to dive in deep. We're going to talk about the history and the philosophy, because I believe that in order to understand any concept, you have to trace the root. Okay. And then Muay Thai, we know, has a lot of basis and root in Thai culture. That's why it's called Muay Thai. And then BJJ, on the other hand, has a lot of roots in the culture of Brazil and Japanese. Although when I was doing my research, I found that there were other jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. There's other stuff. I'll explain it.
Yes.
I'll get
So
there.
in the world of striking, Muay Thai has become very famous, right? Especially in Southeast Asia here, right?
Yeah.
And why has it become the most famous of its category? Same thing with Brazilian Jit Jitsu. Why has Brazilian Jit Jitsu become the most famous in its category when there are other Jiu Jitsus, from other countries and all of that? We could safely say that, right? It's the most famous of its kind.
I think for me, Muay Thai started famous because of MMA, actually, especially in the Western world, right? Because who was it? Like Bass Rutten and stuff like that started the trend of like Muay Thai. Then Cody Garbrandt as well, saying like, oh, he's so good, and started to train for Muay Thai. I think, but in Southeast Asia, why it's popular is because Thailand was organized, and it was such an integral part of their culture. For example, there's Latway, which is from Myanmar, by the way, the art of 9 limbs.
Yeah.
So it's
What is the ninth limb? Forehead.
No, head. So
Head.
they headbutt. And
Headbutt.
lat,
But
Wow.
the forehead's the hardest part.
hard waist. So these
So that's
two,
why we pointed the forehead.
exactly, and they
It's the
also
hardest
do the side and stuff like. So they headbutt.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think also as well, Chinese also have kickboxing, which is what's it called?
Sanda.
Sanda as well. Which
Chinese.
Chinese
Yeah.
kickboxing. They have
Interesting.
throws. Zhang Weili, she's from Sanda.
Yeah.
Most of the UFC fighters from China, they started off with Sanda. So they learn takedowns from there, and they pick up Jiu-Jitsu later on because they already know how to take down. The takedowns are different
Okay,
as well.
but is that striking, this Chinese?
Striking, 2 takedowns.
Yeah.
Oh,
With a
okay.
with a gi top, short sleeve.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
think I've seen clips like that.
Yeah.
But the reason why you don't know as well because it's not.
And I think this can be applied to a lot of people viewing us now and a lot of people around the world. We just know Muay Thai. We just know BJJ.
Yeah.
So what makes it significant?
I know it's. I think also it's the soft power that Thailand has created, especially in the West. You know, if they think about Asian food, it's Thai food as well. Thai food is such a big thing in the West. While here as well, we're so close to Thailand. You know, and also they have created such a big culture from it, and also because of betting. Thailand, Muay Thai has changed a lot because of the betting system. The style has changed because of the betting system. For example, if you fight 3 rounds in Muay Thai, the first round we are taught to chill.
No, for yeah.
Yeah, we're taught to chill, we're taught to like feel out your opponent. But the reason why we did that was because of the betting system. Because if you came in, knocked the guy out in the first round,
Yeah.
you don't have time to say like, oh, I want to bet on him and stuff like that. He'll get a knockout. So he'll get knockout from that.
Okay,
So
we'll dive deeper into that later.
yeah, so and things have changed because of that. And so I think also Muay Thai as well is just a fun sport. They're not as brutal as Latway, which by the way, the rules are crazy. 10 minutes each round, you knock out the guy and you get 5 minutes to bring him back up to fight again.
You
To
knock him out,
knock him out,
clarify,
and you have to wake him up.
To
You
clarify,
can wake him up in 5 minutes. Yeah.
you have to knock him out twice.
Yes, basically.
Do people actually win that sport?
Yeah. So, for example, in Latway, right? You know how Muay Thai we have win losses, right? Latway, there's win,
Yeah.
loss, and draws. And because if no one knocks anyone out, it's a draw.
But there's draws as well. But
There's a lot of draws, but it's rare in Muay Thai, you know?
yeah.
So like, and that's too brutal.
But I mean, to clarify for the knockout rule.
Yeah.
So let's say in Muay Thai it's 10 seconds, right? You don't get up. You're done. Match is ended. Now in Latway, as soon as the 10 seconds end, your corner jumps in. And they throw water in your face. They slap your ears. They pull your ears. You know the ice water everywhere.
Just so you can wake up.
So you can wake up, put you in the chair, and you're like that. And if you wake up,
People don't
you
die
fight
from
again.
there.
We
It's
don't
not recorded.
know.
I mean, it's not.
You know?
It's not in the books, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
But exactly.
I mean, I think they train for it, so
But
the
still.
body can
Brain
take
damage
it.
is brain damage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brain
I
damage
mean,
is
it's terrible
Yeah.
for me to think of it.
But exactly, like that's the rule, right? And in just looking your face already, it's like so brutal. So how do you get people to come into it, right?
Yes.
And I think also Muay Thai is exotic enough for the West. Muay Thai. What do the white people call it? Something else, you know?
Yeah.
Muay Thai.
Coco.
You know,
Muay Thai. Muay Thai.
You know, they call it it's
Brazilian Jit
exotic enough for the West that they can promote it as a Eastern martial art.
Yeah.
know?
Okay. How about BJJ, Alistair? What singles it out from
Okay.
other kinds of grappling?
Me
style?
being me, I also studied way far back. Maybe like 1300s. I don't know how, maybe to 1200s. So I
Interesting.
don't know how far you want me to go back.
Prehistoric.
For both sports, I was comparing 1200s. That's around where written articles or spoken articles started off. And then from there, it got more interesting around 1600s, okay? Because that's when it started getting documented better. So it was all loosely related, on the 1200s. And I think I mentioned to you before, all martial arts start as a self-defense system
Yes.
or a military fighting system. But every martial art, and I'll create the lay of the land here in simple words for your listeners or your viewers.
Yeah.
A martial art, to put simply, is just knowing how to fight. I think you can agree with me here. Where
Yeah.
a martial art is just I know how to fight. Okay, but I don't like it when people mysticize it or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Martial art,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
of course there's that part, but to put it simply, it's just that you know how to fight. And now in 1200s, Japan and Thailand started their own way of learning how to fight because they had their wars, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Japan was influenced, so because I'm talking about Jiu Jitsu, Japan was influenced by the samurai.
Okay.
And this was during the Edo period where the samurai was at the top of the hierarchy.
Yeah.
So it was Jiu Jitsu came out, okay? Jiu Jitsu translates to gentle art, okay? So loosely something to gentle art. And you see now it says Jiu-Jitsu. In English we spell it that way, but that's because it's a translation error when you're trying to Romanize the letters
Yes. Yes.
from Japanese pronunciation, you see. So
Okay.
that's why you see different spellings.
Yeah.
Same thing. Jiu-Jitsu and Jujutsu is the same thing. Now, it started off more clearly in 1600s, Jiu-Jitsu, as a martial art for the samurai to train. From Jiu-Jitsu, okay, it went all the way to 1882, where Judo was invented. From Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
there was a crazy, nerdy guy called Jigoro Kano, who was the inventor and founder of Judo. And I just explain it that way because he was the guy who wrote it down. If you do judo, there's called the gokyo, which is the 5 categories of throws. Okay, so he systemized the whole thing. He split it to leg techniques,
Yeah.
foot techniques, hand techniques, hip techniques, standing technique, ground techniques, and he put names. He gave everybody a uniform, which is the gi or kimono, which don't mysticize it.
Yeah.
Make it simple.
Yeah.
The reason why we wear the gi, okay, and then we make jokes about this all the time.
The gi is
Wearing
the repellent.
yeah,
pajamas.
Yeah,
Okay.
the pajamas.
I
That's
thought,
what was
I
gonna
thought
say.
it's just to prevent contact with the body.
Okay, no.
We'll come,
No,
we'll come
no.
to that.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll come to that.
So the kimono it just means something that you'd wear. If you translate in Japanese, something that you wear. The reason why it's shaped and put the way
In
it
a
is
certain
now,
way, yeah.
okay, right now, is because that was the traditional dress in Japan when Jiu Jitsu first started.
Yes.
Now we're wearing t-shirts and shorts and jeans.
Yeah,
Our training gear would have been fashioned the same way.
the same way.
If people wear short sleeve every day and you want to teach people how to fight, why not make everybody wear short sleeves and make it to a thicker material? And then that's how like Chinese kickboxing started off, right? And Mongolian, if you see Mongolian wrestling, it's just the sleeves here, the grips here, right? Because that's how you would be dressed. So in Japan, judo was influenced and jiu-jitsu was influenced by just how everyone dressed every day.
Yeah.
So to get that out of the way first. And then eventually it went over, just like every other martial art, it should evolve into a sport.
Sports, yeah.
Okay. Why I bring this up is because if you see any of the long-lasting martial arts in times of peace, where does it go? It always has to become a sport.
Yes.
If a martial art stays, if a martial art stays, it means that your country is constantly at war, to hand combat.
Yeah. So martial arts started as a means of self-defense.
Correct.
During wars.
Yeah. Every martial art.
Always.
Interesting.
Muay
And
Thai
then when
was,
there is no war, because it's some form of
Where does it go?
interesting way, it becomes entertainment
Becomes
for the
absolute.
sport.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Otherwise it becomes absolute.
That was a follow-up question, but you already answered it.
Okay, sorry.
I think you have a lot to
Okay.
say. I think you have a lot to say, Alistair. All right, we'll go to the next question. Real world self-defense scenario. So let's say a lady is in an elevator, right? In a closed circle. And at this point, she encounters a stranger. It's a closed space. And this stranger tries to attack her in some way. Okay? Now we're here to talk about Muay Thai versus BJJ. So I want you to tell us, how can striking be more practical than BJJ in this situation? Because common sense would tell us if someone is in close proximity, grappling comes in handy at that point.
True.
Just get the person up. So a BJJ person knows what to do. But for a Muay Thai person, how would she handle that in that situation?
Well, first off, if she's good, she'll knock out the person. No, okay, but to go a bit more in depth, I would say Muay Thai does have a standing grappling solution as well. We do grappling as well, which is called clinching.
The clinching,
Right?
yeah.
So, but again, we take into consideration because of the fact that striking, of course, requires strength. There's a reason why weight class existed. And for example, grappling, there is an absolute division. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Right?
there's
We means open
weight.
Open weight. You know.
Yeah.
So grappling does allow you to fight more people, more different weight classes. But I would say, in a self-defense situation, you have to understand that you don't know a lot of things. He could have a knife.
Okay.
You know, he could, if he's twice your size. If you are a 5'4" girl, you know, fighting a 6'2", like 90-kilo dude, is still going to be tough. One of my friends as well, who's a black belt Jiu Jitsu, says like, yeah, she's currently 40 and rolling with people, which is what we call sparring, I
Yeah,
guess.
sparring.
Right?
Rolling is
yeah.
sparring in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough and tiring, you know? And I would say Muay Thai, you can just, if you are quick enough and create enough distance, you can knee him the balls. You can you can elbow him in the face.
Elbow.
And and also especially in self-defense situation, you have no rules. I think that's the one thing for those who are actually those who are watching.
Yes.
There's no such thing as dirty fighting.
Yeah.
Do what if bite, scratch, do whatever the hell that you have to do to stay alive.
On that point, one of the first things, scream.
Scream,
One of the first things. Always.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always make a fuss. If
Yeah.
it's a real situation, make a fuss.
make a
That's
fuss.
one of the first things.
But scream is not part of Muay Thai, right?
It is.
But it's
You go laugh. You know, you know, and I think, for example, if we take the top tier, Supergirl, right?
yes.
Oh my goodness, her knees are just like shotguns.
I think that is one of the limbs that is most potent
attached to it,
for an attack, right?
Especially in the scenario of an elevator, right? So if you were to, let's just say you train, grab the guy, and the guy comes in, and usually they want something. It's either sexual assault or robbery or just
casual harassment.
they just want to harass you, you know?
Yeah.
You can just knee the person and you never want to punch because the fact that this hand has how many bones in it? This is one bone. This knee right here technically speaking, if the doctors are listening, is more than 3 bones, but it's one big bone that's right there, right?
The femur, right?
Yeah, and I'm quite sure all the guys can agree. If you get hit in the balls multiple times, you know, you are going to go down.
Yeah.
You aim for the throat, you aim for the eyes.
Yeah.
For me, my opinion, you disable the guy. And you don't give him enough chance to get up,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And if you knock him out, that's great.
Interesting.
Or you disable him by doing the, what's it called, more sensitive organs. Here, and here.
Okay.
We call it the center line.
Yeah.
Okay, the center line. Here,
Here, here,
here,
here technically, but maybe don't aim for this. And here.
And the crotch.
Crotch and solar plexus, but because
what do you call it?
solar plexus.
Okay.
So,
With your diaphragm.
So these are specific spots that you could use to disarm someone even in a higher weight class.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say definitely crotch, eyes, throat.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my girlfriend as well.
Interesting. So again, guys, we are talking about self-defense, the ultimate self-defense technique. So you want to go into striking, you want to go into grappling, Muay Thai or BJJ or some other related sports in these 2 different categories, striking and grappling, right? This is one way to go about it. Okay, Mr. Alistair, you will tell us. Let's assume this girl has disabled this guy, okay? She has diffused the situation in the elevator. And then she comes out of the elevator, open space, 3 attackers are coming.
Okay.
Because common sense will tell us that grappling is hold this guy, try to subdue him, right? But what if there are 3 persons?
Okay. Before before I get to that, because we were talking about doctors, I just recall.
Yeah.
Once you finish with our podcast, you probably have to go back to the first guys because we caused the damage.
Yeah.
And the first podcast takes you
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, because you had the physio and the camera.
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
gotta usually you see us first.
Interesting.
Then you see them after.
Yeah,
Interesting. So guys, this one is for the damage, then the fixing. Watch our previous episode.
Yeah, he's smart. He's doing the marketing for the first one.
I can't think of it, but it was unintentional.
It was all planned.
But it's working.
You have to crop this part, so it looks like it was intentional.
Interesting.
So if you're talking about grappling, in a traditional sense, okay, of course, one-on-one, you would try to hold the guy, but this is, again, when you're talking about bring it to a sports setting, from self-defense into sports, because how are you going to train this every day? I always ask that question. If you're talking about self-defense, and this is why I'm always skeptical of people saying that pad hitting classes or bag hitting classes, when you can agree with me, are not self-defense. They shouldn't be marketed as self-defense.
Agreed.
What do you call it?
Hitting pads?
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
pads and hitting bags. If that's all the class does, it should not be marketing as self-defense.
Okay.
Because it's like, if you play basketball just by yourself, are you good enough to be on a team?
You never know your strength or weaknesses.
There's 4 other people in the team with you against 5 other people.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm good at shot solo, by myself, layups, all that practice.
Yes.
It might help you
Yeah.
get in there, but it's not. It can't
Not
be the only
enough.
thing.
Yeah.
So now, when it comes to grappling specifically, when I was talking about another reason why I wanted to start off defining martial arts in the beginning, when you're trying to come up with a way to fight, that's how I defined it. If you're trying to find a way to fight, you're thinking, okay, how would I fight somebody? There's one of 2 things. You either hit them or you don't hit them. Okay? But in either way, either path you take, the result is usually the other person has to get to the floor and not be able to get back up. Either way.
Yes. Subdued.
What he was explaining was perfectly how you would hit somebody to the point that they can't get up.
They can't get up.
Assuming that giving up is not option,
Yes.
right? It's not like he willingly stays there.
Yeah.
It's that he just physically can't.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, like a liver shot, you know? I don't know if you felt a liver shot yet.
Not yet, and I
Hopefully
don't.
you never do. I really hope you
Hopefully
don't.
never do.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's from the leg, right?
It can be
Could be
from-
a hook, could be a hook to the body, or it could be a kick,
If you want to know where your liver is, it's right underneath your right
floating rib.
right floating rib, and just dig
right
it
side.
in.
Right
The
side.
rib cage. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can you can feel it right now on
Yeah.
live.
Nick, do you want to show a demonstration?
We can show you.
For the demonstration, we have people that are behind the scene, and I'm sure they might be glad to participate.
No
but for
problem.
me, I have to be here to attend to our audience.
Good answer. Good answer.
So anyway, so I was talking about with hitting, you
Yeah.
can either hurt the body so much, or
Yeah.
you hurt the head so much to the point that they're not conscious, right? Then that's a concussion.
Yeah.
If you low kick to the legs, for example, have you had taken leg kicks before?
Yeah.
Okay, and you feel like you can't get up.
Yes.
So that's one example of hurting the body until you can't get up anymore. And then if you get concussed, you lose your memory for like 20 minutes to an hour. Like you don't remember what happens there. That's sign of brain damage or concussion. So these are one of two options that you have when it comes to hitting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when it comes to not hitting, it means grappling.
Grappling.
I just want to make it as simple language as possible. Not hitting means that you're grappling. Okay. And before they used to call it wrestling. But then you had submission wrestling and normal wrestling and other types of wrestling. So that's why there's a differentiation now. So you would think that you have to put him on the floor, and then you can either run away, or what happened with Jiu Jitsu and Judo, they realized that once you put him on the floor, he doesn't stop. He's gonna keep on. He's gonna keep on trying to get up.
Does it end the situation?
That's where the submissions come in. You break an arm, you choke him, okay? Wrist lock, leg lock, all that came in, okay? Or of course, when you mix them together, put him on the floor and then hit him, okay? The person on top, because when you get to the floor, is top and bottom. There's almost always top and bottom. And then you can of course hit him when he gets to the floor, okay? That's in a traditional sense and how it's evolved into the sport.
Yeah.
But when you talk about self-defense, you got to bring it back to practical situations. So you asked me, okay, when she's trying to keep close to them, you're thinking about what you're thinking nowadays, in the modern days, as a sport. Because you see people hold and stay.
Yeah.
Of course, there's other ways, like Lance, who just fought last weekend, right? Or 2 weeks ago, Will?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
The
in
most
Malaysia.
squirmy, buggy little guy. I always hate sparring with him because he pops up everywhere like a lizard.
Like a monkey.
Oh, he's, and I can say this. I went to his wedding. We were close friends.
Yeah.
One of the most annoying guys to spar with. He's a little guy, and he just pops up everywhere. So before you know it, if you get enough grappling experience, okay, you might even see some videos where they do police training.
Yeah.
Police try to hold down somebody. Okay, they just get an athletic guy, fit guy, football player.
Yes.
Go to the police academy and join the training. All you have to do is stand up and run, and the police have to hold you down. Okay.
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen those clips. Yeah.
This is the situation I'm trying to describe to you. Is that grappling isn't necessarily I have to hold him and keep him on the floor when two other people are on top of me. It's also that I'm used to people holding me and being restricted and trying to, so there's what you call a limp arm. So you relax your arm and you pull your arm, grip breaking, and then you find your way to run.
Okay.
So grappling, I would also, you're talking about self-defense, small girl,
Yeah.
three guys.
3 attackers. Yeah.
It's her experience from training that she's comfortable being restricted and finding her way up.
Okay.
And
So
then
what
you-
you're saying is that she will lose if it's for BJJ for three
If
guys.
it's BJJ, that's the point.
That's what you're
That's the
saying.
point.
That's what you're saying.
Ah, man.
You're saying that.
But I would argue for a Muay Thai fighter,
Yeah.
3 attackers, it can do something.
I think the best like multiple thing, John Wick.
Okay.
If you just look at hand to hand, which is not exactly right because it's choreographed.
Yeah.
But I would say that I feel though BJJ is meant for a single person.
Yes.
Because the moment that you submit the person, you're already open to attack, right?
Yeah.
And I would say Muay Thai. I fought 2 people before in a sparring match.
Yes, exactly.
Because one of my asshole coaches was like, "Go fight 2 people, just to see." And he is like, "Okay, you're good. Go fight two good dudes, you know." And that's a real pain in the ass. And I'm a big dude, and they were smaller than me.
Yeah.
I would say the best if it was open space, 3 people,
Muay Thai comes in handy.
knock out the first guy if you can. If not, just run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't fight 3 dudes. If
Yeah.
if I have one more of you, right? I don't think I can. I can probably knock out one guy first. The other 2,
But
then,
at least this is an open space, so you have time to stay
and run.
move around and diffuse one person and then the next. So we can come to a conclusion that here, in this kind of scenario, Muay Thai comes in handy and it's more practical than BJJ. Yes or no?
Let me clarify.
Okay, Alisa doesn't agree. Let's go.
Because we're trying to say winning and losing.
Yeah.
Because everyone's thinking of it, I think most people would be thinking about in a sports setting, where he's incapacitated.
Yeah.
I choked him or I submitted him, and he gives up, or I knocked him out, and then he can't get up anymore. But you're talking about self-defense situation. It's about being alive. That's where you know you won.
Okay.
Because in a sports setting, you can safely train day to day.
Okay.
Okay. Now, your experience, your muscle memory from day-to-day training in Muay Thai is, of course, to the grappling aspect of it. We're talking about tight space, okay, and creating distance is restricted to that. Once you start grabbing, like, because it's illegal to hug. Okay,
Oh,
body lock. You can't grab the legs.
Yeah.
Once you get to the floor, the referee says stop. Okay, you get back up, then you fight again.
Okay.
So now it begs the question: in Muay Thai, if it was to get to a situation where you get down to the floor, three guys, maybe they'll trip you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
they'll trip
sorry.
you, put you on the floor. Does Muay Thai have the experience to kind
To
of escape from that
subdue
situation?
them or escape, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could stand
Because-
up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but the scenario
guys.
he's giving,
It's three
the
guys.
scenario he's giving was the girl. Okay, for
Would you be able to get up?
If someone's grappling me,
If there are three guys as a Muay Thai
Yeah.
I think so,
professional,
yeah.
I could
Three
probably
guys.
push them off enough to
Yeah.
get up. But again, if it's women,
what gives you that experience? Since
I-
you don't do any grappling or groundwork in Muay Thai.
I do a bit of BJJ as well,
Yeah, dude.
and
So, but for someone who
Doesn't do
have
anything.
zero
Purely
BJJ
Muay Thai.
experience,
I think you can just, if you are a dude, you can muscle your way to get up.
okay.
You know, and even
But
though
there's no basic training.
There's
no
no-
exact training for that
No.
scenario.
he's right,
Okay,
you stand
okay,
up.
BJJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but I think there's no way to say a clear cut answer. So
Yes.
because I'm trying to go talk to a wider audience. I think
Yes.
there's no clear cut way to say that Muay Thai will save your life.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu will save your
In
life.
that scenario.
What if they have a rope or they have a they have a jacket to tie your hands?
Okay.
You know, what if it is so,
Okay.
there's so many ways you can play.
Yes, I get it.
I think three dudes is again, it's hard. I
Yeah.
think no
So
one
we
it's
had
a-
in any situation,
Yeah.
right?
even
But
even in Krav Maga as well. When you
Yeah.
train Krav Maga,
Yeah.
Mm.
they do multiple attackers, and they get mauled. You can find videos online. You know.
Yeah.
All right, so we move to the next one, physique. We want to talk about physique, okay? Because of course, not everybody comes into a certain weight class, and if you are going to have an attacker, you're not setting what weight class he falls into. But then again, I want to clarify. BJJ, you said there is no exact weight class system.
Okay. The weight class when you're doing competition.
Okay.
Okay. There's your weight class and there's open weight class.
Okay.
Usually, how it goes is you have to medal, so one either gold or gold to bronze, or gold,
Okay.
silver, bronze, and then you can go into the absolute. Okay, absolute is open weight.
Okay.
So I've done absolute maybe once or twice. No more than that. It was just too much damage. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't make money if I
Because
got
you were
injured.
with bigger guys.
Because it was open weight class. So then only if you win there, okay, then you'll go to the you are eligible to go into the absolute.
Oh,
So
okay.
absolute would go to 60 kilos, I think, for guys, and then unlimited. So you could get 100-something kilo guy. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's open weight.
Okay, let's go back to physique, right?
Yeah.
We know Muay Thai talks about deals with more of speed, agility,
Yep.
and explosive power. You have to be very fast, very agile, right? And how about someone who is interested to join this discipline, and this person is probably over 170 pounds or 200 pounds? Can this person take on that kind of discipline?
80 kilos?
270 pounds, that's heavy, dude.
Or 200?
270 pounds.
270,
Isn't that like
170?
No, 170 to
170
to 200.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, realistically, there are people who fall under
Yes.
that weight class, right? So, does your sport accommodate those size of people?
Yeah, I think that you're going to suffer lah. I think that's the truth of it because it's going to suck. Because if you go to Tiger Muay Thai online as well,
Because everybody looks very skinny
of
and fit.
course,
That's
in
after
Muay
you start
Thai.
training.
because it looks
That's
cool.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, that's also.
But
you're
then-
talking about professionals. No?
But then, when you come to pro fighters like in the UFC, in Bellator, right?
Yeah.
You still see big guys that do stuff like that.
I mean, Roy Nelson. Are you talking about like? You know Roy Nelson?
Not really.
oh, this
Wait,
dude.
since you have your own Jamie. Hey, Jamie,
Yeah,
pull that up.
hey Jamie, can you pull up Roy
I
Nelson?
was always wanted to.
Go find a picture of Roy,
Roy
Nelson.
Nelson, professional UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Roy Nelson.
His basis is Muay Thai,
No, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but
Jiu Jitsu.
they call
Ah,
it
Jiu Jitsu. He's a Jiu Jitsu guy.
He's a
Look what he looks
jiu-jitsu,
like.
yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Roy Nelson.
You may not like it, but that's what peak performance looks
But
like.
I think people of this size is good for grappling because grappling, that was the question I was coming to ask you. Grappling has to do with strength and endurance, right? And it has to do with a lot of weight. So when you are on top of someone, right, you can easily subdue the person.
Yep.
Although there is still another side of it. The flip side is, what if the person is not on you? It might be more difficult to regain your composure, being a
Oh,
big guy.
yeah.
Okay. Let me talk from experience as a coach and as usually being a smaller guy in the room, but more so as a coach. So anybody and everybody comes in through the door, regardless of the sport. Okay, usually it's just coincidence, or it could be personality. He happens to like hitting people. He happens to like, maybe he was a rugby guy and then he got into jiu-jitsu, right? He's like, oh, it looks similar enough. I can't find a wrestling gym. I'll try jiu-jitsu, because wrestling is usually certain areas is more popular, but jiu-jitsu is quite general. Around the world is quite popular, right? It became a fad from MMA. So what happens there is we can't differentiate from physique, especially from a coaching perspective. But what I can do is I can mold your style to fit the rules of the sport. Remember, modern day, why the sport lasts is the rules of the sport, and teach you how to use your physique in the setting.
Even
to
if
help
this
you win.
girl is like 5'2" and she weighs probably 40 kg.
Because okay, this is what I used to do for my students, non-competitors and competitors, kids and adults. The way you measure yourself is through the competition quality in the competitions in your region. So you're looking at people at your weight class. You can't compare yourself to a bigger guy, because I'm talking about in the gym every day, right? Like I have to compare myself to the closest possible weight to me, okay? And
But since there's no system of ranking, right,
for the weight,
for the weight.
there
It
is.
is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
What he meant just now was this: in addition to the weight classes,
Okay,
there's
yeah.
also the open weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
okay,
addition to.
okay.
You have
so
that
there
for-
is a clear-cut weight class
Yeah.
ranking
Yes.
And
for
also,
BJJ.
but I think that they
Okay,
also
interesting.
have as well absolute, which is never found in striking ever
Okay.
for a reason.
Um,
So especially if you're talking about for the physique standpoint, as someone that is, let's say, overweight, and you're getting into it, right? There's a very interesting theory about why fat people, what's it called, people with big bellies, right?
Yeah,
Is can knock out people faster. It's because of the kinetic chain, right?
Okay.
So if you
What is
stand,
that?
so it's a kinetic chain from your. So whenever you do a movement, right, it doesn't
It's
start
your
from
waist,
your arms.
yeah.
It starts from your waist.
Mr.
It's the whole time.
You would always tell me, kick comes from your waist,
Yeah.
Yes.
and not your body, your
Yeah.
waist.
some coaches say the punches start from the legs.
Yeah,
Yes.
from the leg.
Which it does. So
Yeah.
they actually could map it out with motion capture. I'm quite sure you can find this online as well, where they put about motion trackers, and the power came from here, right? And where is the center of your mass? Your core, your hips, and your legs are bigger than your arms, right? So the theory is that because you have a big belly, and also they have this inertia to transfer into
Transfer the energy.
transfer the energy
Yeah.
from the kinetic chain. I've seen really big
Heavy guys.
and they hit
And they
like
do well in Muay Thai.
do it well in Muay Thai. I think physique, especially in martial arts, is not a marker of how good how agile you
how
are.
fast you might be.
There are big dudes that are scarily fast, and that's good, you know, because you want
This
weight.
is quite understandable because we have very big guys that move. Like Jones is big now. He's big, right?
Chubby boy.
Yeah, and he's pretty agile and very fast, right?
Yeah.
But then again, let's come back to BJJ, right? A smaller size person,
Okay.
can this person have a very good career in
small?
BJJ? Like 5'2", for example, or let's take it back to self-defense.
yeah, I mean, okay.
Is it useful for such a person, a girl who's weighing 5'2",
I mean, from-
who is 5'2" and weighing probably 40 kgs, right? Is it better she just goes for striking other than grappling? Most of the attackers she could ever have in life, God forbid such a scenario occurs,
Yeah.
will be someone that is definitely bigger than her, especially if it's a guy. I want to clear the air. Every time we talk of attackers, we're always talking of men. Why do we always subconsciously think of men?
I mean, how many ladies get attacked, jumped by ladies?
Exactly.
I want to see the statistics maybe.
Yeah.
How many ladies get
Okay.
mugged by ladies?
And also, yeah, there's a lot
How
more
many guys
cases.
get mugged by ladies?
And of course, if we go by statistics,
Yeah.
it says it all. Okay, back to what you were saying.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to clarify, because most of my time in martial arts, people define it is by success. Okay. How successful in Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu. We're going to have to take it to what do you measure that success by? If you're talking about fame, money, how many times her record, how many times she's won and lost in the sport.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll come to that.
Yeah. So if you're talking about size and weight,
In
so
a
this is-
self-defense situation, with such a girl who is 5'2",
okay.
and weighing probably 40, is it practical to go for BJJ
Okay.
rather than Muay Thai?
I would say so, okay, because one of the things when you first start into jiu-jitsu, the most scariest thing, and MMA as well, one of the most scariest things is when you get held down. So imagine you get tied down and you can't move, and you know that your brain is fully awake. I'm not getting choked, nothing, but I'm just getting held down. And he hates when he spars me because I do this.
Just being head down.
You get tied down,
Yeah.
and you can't.
and you can't move.
You can't move because the guy just holds you in a certain way. And I do this to him all the time. I love sparring him because I know he doesn't know what he's doing. I just hold him, and it just. And I've felt this a lot of times in Jiu Jitsu.
It's frustrating.
That fear sometimes you can feel in you. It feels like a cold chill sometimes.
Yeah.
And then especially when it's MMA sparring and they start hitting you. I used to do this to guys like you, and you start using the cage. I use my head to hold their arm behind my shoulder and my head, and I hit them, and they can't do anything. You can feel that fear because if you've been there, especially, I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
It's a bit like when you're striking. How I can carry it to is you done pot clinching. Have you heard of that? Pot clinching is when it's everybody there. Okay, and every round you switch. There's no breaks.
Oh yeah.
So you clinch. Next guy.
Who did that
Next
to
guy.
you?
Who hasn't done that yet? Okay.
No. He didn't.
So-
When he was around, I was still very new.
Okay.
Such
So
a
I
nice
know it
coach.
was to
But
survive.
but then you have things like King of the Hill, for example, is every time you win the round, you stay in. The next guy comes in, he's fresh. Okay, so when you have competitions, you have fighting games, sparring games like this, where you're being pushed to your mental limits, okay, or your physical limits.
Yeah.
So maybe your head's fresh, but you just keep getting hit. Now,
Yeah.
that's when that fear kind of kicks in. Okay. Now, why I think if you get held down, I think might be the more likely scenario for a girl that size, you were saying, if she was to get in trouble, God forbid, it would be because she's being held down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that somebody hits her and then knocks her out.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure, but probably if somebody's trying to get something from her, she's being held. So she would have to have day-to-day experience or even weekly experience of what it's like to be held
Yeah.
and constrained.
Yeah.
I think that comes back to pressure. I think
Pressure, yeah.
you have to understand that whatever system that you are training,
Yeah.
Savate, Muay Thai, Krav Maga,
Yeah.
you have to be pressured.
Yes.
You know, you have to be
Yes,
put under
yes,
stress.
Yeah.
Like my current coach, Prem, he used to tell us,
Yeah.
learn to look a punch and take it in the face while looking at the punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because that kind of scenario prepares you for, you know.
Have you seen how Thai guys train for that?
Really?
Have you seen? They have a bucket of water.
Yeah.
And you have to slap the water with your fingers, and the water splashing your face, you can't blink.
And you
And
have
you
to-
must
So
have
you
your eyes
can
open.
find
Yes,
yeah. So
yeah.
that's one of the ways they train.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is that? Let him look him.
I think you can't find a video, but
I have
Okay,
no idea.
yeah,
Like, it
I
just
don't know how to
appears.
Google that, but it comes up.
Really?
Yeah.
So he was trying to talk of why it's important to have that pressure situation and get used to it.
Yeah. I think also it's the in different situations that you have to put yourself in, being held, being hit, and not just getting punched in the face, but actually feeling helpless.
Yes.
And of course,
and
it
knowing,
comes-
knowing
yeah.
how to control the situation rather than
Correct.
panic, because it is the panic that make people lose.
As a coach, I had to teach people how not to panic. I couldn't tell them,
Yes.
"Oh, you're just gonna panic forever until you get better." No, I had
Yeah.
to shorten that stage.
Yes.
So I had to teach them specifically why they're panicking, and
Yeah.
usually that's because they don't know what they're doing. So I had to clearly define for them, okay, what's happening here, and I give you day-to-day safe training, sparring. Okay,
yes.
sparring is one of the bedrocks of why a martial art lasts. Of a sporting, a combat sport. Okay, combat sport is when a martial art becomes a sport, a fighting sport.
Yes.
And now I had to clearly define for them and safely teach them and everybody in the room, like 20, 30 people per class, what can you safely do day to day to feel comfortable with it. So why I keep going back to that is because you're asking me, this girl, if she was to train jiu-jitsu, which means she comes regularly to a class. Could be once a month, could be once a week. It's not to say that, okay, after you train 2 classes, you're going to get attacked. No, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Exactly. So what I'm expecting is she's had a few years of experience, or maybe a few months. Okay. Now, from every class she's gone to, every sparring session she's had, what in that experience prepares her to survive this altercation?
Yeah, for such scenarios. All right, that's beautiful. And then we talk about misconceptions. There is competition and then there is self-defense. So we're going to treat both. Muay Thai, you brought to my notice, and for the first time I noticed, and then you also said something like that. During the competition, the first 2 rounds is usually not too serious.
Yeah.
And then I researched what you told me, and I found out that some people find that boring.
Yeah.
Because it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, there is also, even when it comes to the training process that leads up to self-defense mechanism or even the competition, there are chances people get injured. I can't remember the fighter in UFC He couldn't go for the fight because during the training period, he had an injury. And I think this happened a lot.
Yeah.
So is Muay Thai a riskier discipline compared to BJJ?
I agree. I
It's
think
riskier.
I
The
think,
risk of injury is higher.
of course it is.
Yeah,
I think
personal experience
it
as
would.
well, yeah.
It's a lie to say that it isn't. I think that's the truth of it.
You know, sorry to cut you short.
No, it's not.
Few days ago,
Oh,
after 6 months of training, 6 to 8 months of training, someone kicked my shin when we were sparring. It was just a light touch,
yeah, yeah.
and I felt so pained. And then I had to call the coach. I was like, Prem, sorry, I don't understand. What's going on here? Why?
Will I
You know,
survive?
so imagine if this guy used all his energy
Yeah.
and gave me 100%.
Yes.
So those kind of risk of injury, because if, for example, I mean, I'm not training, I'm training for self-defense and maybe for fitness purpose. I'm not going for sports. I'm too old for that. But let's assume
Yeah.
I'm doing this and I get injured. I think I'm fucked for
Yeah.
some time. But I see
Yeah.
BJJ, they are just there wrestling and grappling on the floor, and I feel like it's safe. I mean, we have two persons who move from Muay Thai to BJJ. I see them. They don't come to Muay Thai training anymore. Every
Yeah,
time
yeah.
they come to BJJ and they are just chill,
Traitors,
relaxed and
traitors.
stuff. So is Muay Thai more prone to
Yeah.
risks?
Of course it is.
Injuries, yeah.
I think we can speak from experience. And of course, you wonderfully said it hurts like a bitch when
Yeah.
bones hit each other.
Yeah.
And if you've been to a professional Muay Thai fight, when the guy checks that kick, right, you hear bones clatter like clock.
Like what's his
Baseball bats
name?
or something.
This guy's leg even.
Yeah,
is-
snap.
A lot.
Snap.
Anderson Silva.
Anderson
Yeah.
Silva. There's a
And
lot.
McGregor.
Keanu Suba.
Keanu
from
Suba,
Malaysia, for the
the
Malaysian,
curse.
Malaysian
Really?
fans. Keanu Suba was the famous
Yeah,
one.
that-
recently.
I mean,
McGregor.
some of our audience who might be watching or
Weidman.
hearing about this, of course, they
Yeah.
can relate that this could be scary.
Of course, I think
So how does Muay Thai navigate this kind of
so.
risk?
Don't do this. This is what I used to do. I would take before every training, I would take rattan sticks
Yeah.
and lightly hit my shin,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah,
I
he
was
told me. He said my nerves are still too active.
Yeah.
My wife always asks me. So I have these two sticks in next to my bedside. She's wondering what they were, and that's what I used to use them for.
yeah.
It was
Interesting.
Yeah,
And-
so she used to ask me.
And okay, if you're doing this, don't say like, "Oh, I heard from this podcast," and then like, okay, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Okay, what you're doing is that you're doing it very lightly to create microfractures to basically strengthen the bones. It's the same thing why if you actually scan John Wayne Pa, he's a Muay Thai fighter as well. If he X-rayed his hand and it was just solid bone, no marrow on his knuckles.
Wow.
But that's because of its overtime and a lot of pressure, a lot of
Yes.
sustained thing, right?
Yes.
Even if you do that, and even if you hit the heavy bag and the Thai pads, it will still hurt. And that's just a fact. That's the one small things. But I've also injured myself by miscalculating a kick, which is very common in sparring. And instead of hitting my shin, I hit my foot and it went like,
Oh, the ankle.
my ankle, just like, whoop. And it just pulled a little bit. And thankfully, my ankle is strong enough to pull it back. And this is very common. And also, if you punch wrong, you're going to sprain your wrist. You get hit in the head. We talk about CTE. This is very common. And I think it's a lie for me to say that it is safer than BJJ. That being said, BJJ also has had some injuries as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
You know?
Okay, we're
Give
going to
my
come back
examples,
to
yeah.
the competition part, but let's talk of the self-defense. It's argued that in a real self-defense scenario, BJJ is not practical. How true is that?
I say not true. Definitely. Okay, but self-defense is like so many
I mean,
things. Yeah.
Most times when people fight, right, in public, maybe you get into an altercation with someone, they go on punches.
Yep.
You might not get a chance to grapple.
Yeah.
So I think this is where the idea or the misconception of being difficult to do this practically in self-defense scenarios.
Which I completely understand. And like it's if you were to say on average, if it was most fights would be 1-to-1, okay?
Yes.
And on average, it will take a couple hits before you get knocked out, unless you have a particularly weak neck or jaw muscles that holds you from getting knocked out. So if you're trying to take a bit more retention to damage, you train your jaw and your neck.
In your neck.
So most guys would last maybe 2 punches. And let's say you get close enough to not get hit. And let's say the guy's not trained as well. Most people aren't. So let's say you're fighting a guy who's not. Okay, just on average. I would say that you would be able to put him on the floor and hold him down. Okay. And not cause, I think you had one question about this later on, not cause any follow-up damage. Okay. Other than maybe the fall and maybe some scratches from the floor. So if you're able to hold him down, and like I was mentioning before, it was you're fully aware, you're fully awake, you're not getting choked, there's no injuries.
Yeah.
After somebody does a physical examination on you, there's no signs of damage, maybe a few scars. So because of that, you're able to tell everybody to, call the cops or something. This guy tried to hit me or try to attack me. If you're talking about that type of scenarios, where I think on average it'll be the most common one, it definitely is practical.
It's practical.
And it's something that we do every day, unless you go to a gym that doesn't teach takedowns.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's another problem.
But if you don't teach takedowns at the gym, in the BJJ
God.
gym, what kind of JJ is that?
Pull guard.
Okay, pull guard.
They just sit on the floor and be like, come here.
Oh.
Have you seen the Simpsons episode?
Yeah, yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah.
It's a similar idea to
And
that.
that's what people also think is boring about BJJ, right?
Yeah.
It is.
But okay, then it begs the question: if this wasn't a sport, where would it have gone? Because it has to get to the floor.
Yeah.
It would have disintegrated somewhere. So you have to get to the floor somewhere. 80-90% of the training is on the floor.
Yeah.
80-90% of the techniques are on the floor.
On the floor.
So what they did
So
was
it's part of.
it's part and parcel because it accelerates that
Yeah.
to the floor, unless it's culturally wrong. So when we talk about guard pulling, so you were asking me, one of the reasons why it seems impractical is guard pulling, which means you just sit or you lie on your back.
And it's boring.
Yeah.
For example,
Yeah.
I would argue it's boring because you check the most fascinating moments of UFC, for example, is when you do all the elbows and striking and all of that.
Yeah.
But every time I have a problem with Khabib. I mean, I love him. He's a great guy. He's a great fighter.
you
But for me, it's boring. I
spoke
told you
to me.
before, right?
Yeah.
It's boring to see someone just put someone there and you choke him out, I mean, if that was what UFC or Bellator was all about,
I know this is
I doubt
second round.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hit him,
I
fake the
doubt.
takedown.
Yeah, I doubt people would be watching
Yeah.
these sports, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is where the misconception or the idea of being boring comes from when it comes to BJJ. Unlike when you see someone, you can see that's an elbow right there, right?
No, it was,
That is interesting to watch.
overhand. He faked the takedown because he took him down the first round. Faked the takedown, head went down, so he thought it was going, and then the hand came through. Like when you throw a cross, your head stays in the same level. But if your head dips,
Yeah.
you think that, okay, maybe he's doing something else. But
Yeah.
actually, the hand comes after the head dips.
Yeah, Lance
Oh,
loves
That's
to do this.
Yeah, Lance's favorite. And
Yeah.
Huggy.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
Huggy's
overhand.
one.
Interesting. Okay, before we move on, I want you to clarify the aspect of the 2 rounds that do dancing and all of that during the competition of
The-
Muay
the
Thai.
first round, yes,
Yes,
yeah.
Well,
is it
5
the
rounds.
first round or the
If 5
first 2
rounds
rounds?
is
Pro
like
fights. I'm talking when I mentioned to Mr. K.
Oh, this
I was
championship
talking about-
fights, yeah.
So no. Even in Thailand.
Yeah,
So in Thailand, 5-minute, 5 round fights.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays it's kind of like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
But they still do this dancing and
they don't
they
really
show off and stuff.
they don't really dance per se. It's more like testing the waters. Because when I know it is boring. In my experience in the ring as well, it's really good to see what the person is doing. For example, if I were to fake a jab and not commit to it, I want to see what does he do. Is he parrying? Is he blocking? Is he stepping back? Is he weaving? So all these things, I'm reading it, deciding, okay, this is what he likes to do. I'm going to do something to counter that, to fake it, stuff like that. For example, if it's 5 rounds, 5 by 5, right?
5 yeah.
Yeah, that's first off, it's a lot.
That's a long.
That's a
25-minute
long
fight.
time.
So you don't want to give in all your best
No, it's
in the beginning?
ridiculous.
Was it 3 minutes or 5
No, it's
minutes?
3 by 5, dude.
3 by 5. 3 by 5.
Crazy.
That's-
MMA. MMA is 5
MMA is
minutes.
5 by 5. Sorry,
Ah.
my bad. MMA is 5 by 5.
Wrong.
3 by 5.
Brown belt. Brown belt. Did Muay Thai.
Maybe you guys will give us a little show.
can. But I think it's 3 by 5 because
3 by
again,
5.
striking is a lot. It's a very explosive
Yeah.
sport, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, first round is already chill. Second round kind of picks it up a little bit. Third, fourth, and fifth. If you ever sparred for that is what? It's 15 minutes?
Yeah, 15
minutes of solid fighting is
Yeah.
tiring.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
It's
Scary,
crazy.
scary.
It's crazy.
so you really have to pick and choose your battles, literally.
Yeah.
So I think, of course, it is boring, but of course, it comes back to the original, where it was for the betting system.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it then kind of like from the betting system, they evolved
into-
into making use of that time.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, all right, you know what?
Yeah, dancing and doing all of that.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
you're practically, studying and
Analyzing.
reading. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Interesting.
Maybe to
That is
yeah.
important to have cleared up. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
to
You wanna
quickly
talk
add on to
something?
that
Yeah.
one. So when it went to Muay Thai, the best time of Muay Thai, if you want to learn and watch Muay Thai, go to Muay Thai Scholar on YouTube.
Yeah.
80s and 90s, the golden era.
Yeah.
80s and 90s in Muay Thai were the best guys. They're still coaching nowadays. the guys from there. The golden era, it was right when it was like the best peak skill Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it started to dip a little bit. So what we're talking about in modern Muay Thai now is because the betting made it popular. This is when it became really interesting and really technical. But technically,
This was more of a betting too.
this,
this-
okay,
the
when the
start
betting
of
starts
it.
picking up.
Yeah.
But the betting kept the fighters to alive to eat. That's because the families and everybody bet on them to win.
Yes.
And that's how you stayed alive, and that's how the sport grew and became popular and had a
evolved
crowd.
over time. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you can't say that betting is not a important.
It's not part. Yeah.
But how it influenced now. So in Bangkok, the two biggest stadiums in Muay Thai, Ratchadandan and Lumpini. Lumpini was they sold 60% to one championship.
Yeah.
Really?
There was a big ceremony 2 years ago with the army, the Thai
Yeah.
army, together with one championship and Chatri. Was it Yo Chatri?
Yeah, Chatri, Yo
So
Chatri.
the owner of one championship,
Mm.
they sold shares to one championship, Lumpini. So if you get to fight and you become a Lumpini or Ratchadandan champion, you are at peak Muay Thai in the world.
Yeah.
A lot of people from the golden era and a little bit after, they refused to go there because it wasn't a nice Muay Thai anymore. They went out to the countrysides and fight in the countrysides because it was a more pure type of Muay Thai.
Yeah, because this one was not commercialized.
Yes. So they lost their income,
Yes.
but they were able to play a more genuine Muay Thai.
Yeah, genuine.
And now
yeah. The raw form.
The last
yeah.
part is why did it switch back? It's because the Thai started losing against foreigners. Jonathan Haggerty against Nong O. I don't know if you know that one.
No.
Very good example of Nong O, a guy who likes to Muay Femur. If you know Muay Femur, is a very technical guy, but takes time to warm up. That's why he used the first 2 rounds to warm up into the third. To the
Okay,
fifth.
so it has actual significance.
Yes.
Yes.
But
And of course, it's true. Even in cycling, the first round you go, I'm also cycling, right?
Okay.
The first round you go, you don't just push it. Yeah. You have to take at least the first round, like 2-3 kilometers. I would normally take my time to warm up my thighs. Otherwise, I could start feeling cramped
And then you can't
very
finish.
early.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting.
But like
Guys, these
yeah.
are very, very good misconceptions that we are clarifying here, and I hope you're finding this very interesting. So we're going to move on to the next. But before we do that, let's cheers to wet waters. It's unfortunate we have to use water for the sake of TikTok.
when the camera's off.
Cheers to wet waters. But after this, definitely we'll be having something more
Potent.
Stronger.
more serious. No, more serious. All right, guys. So we're going to move on to gender inclusion. This brings me to a particular remembrance. When the first time I was paired with a girl in Muay Thai, I had a big problem.
Yeah.
Because as a very traditional Nigerian, I don't touch a woman. Okay.
Yeah.
And at this point, there are 2 aspects. One aspect is the fact that I'm looking at her. I know that if my hook should get to her, there will be some need for an ambulance. And then on the other hand, I'm still looking at the fact that, like in BJJ, there is so much of close contact, physical contact. And at this point, it begins to beg the question, do women feel included in these sports, especially during training? Because women have to spar with guys. Okay, so what are some of the changes or modalities that are put in place as an instructor of BJJ, right, that makes women feel comfortable in a training environment that is gender inclusive, such that women feel comfortable and we can guide against social misconduct that would breach their personal space and physical contact, issues like this? What is some of these modalities you guys put in place as an instructor?
For BJJ first or Muay Thai?
BJJ first.
So for BJJ, I think it might be similar. Is we try to pair them up with lighter guys,
With what?
lighter
guys.
weight class guys.
Lighter weight guys.
So we
okay.
try to match the weight as much as possible. Because you might have a girl. So, like I used to spar with girls similar weight to me.
Yes.
60, 70. When I was 60, 70, right? I'm almost 80 now. I spar with them. It was fairly even. But of course, muscle density came into play.
Yes.
So you need a little bit lighter
yes,
guys still.
Yes. The hypermasculine culture in the gym also, that's another problem.
It was just that's one aspect of culture, but it's also I think that one is more how does the coach conduct himself when somebody who has hypermasculinity walks through the door. I would recommend a coach needs to shut that down and say this is not that kind of place. He might stay, but usually what happens is that guy doesn't feel welcome and he leaves. He goes to another gym that encourages that personality. So what I used to do is I made sure everyone in the room matched a personality that I was comfortable with and understood where I stood.
We're
you know,
going to
where-
go
yeah.
deeper into personality in a moment.
Yeah, so I had to make sure everyone was safe with girls. Now, of course, you're gonna get a few guys who just
Rough
you
handle
know,
girls
rough handle,
or
a bit.
intentionally
Yeah.
use those medium
Yeah,
to make contact,
Yeah.
harassment, and stuff like that.
100%. And it's a natural part of the sport. If you think you're a coach and you're never going to encounter that, I think
Encounter-
you're
yeah,
being
yeah,
naive. It will happen.
Yes.
But the thing is, you have to create a room and a culture
Yeah.
that encourages women to feel safe.
Yeah.
And also, as soon as you can, get a women's only class. I recommend because
Women's only.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
because
really?
a lot of professional women fighters, they say that they used to train with guys, and you think, oh, they're heavier, they're stronger, and if I train with them, women will be easy. No, I used to teach guys that when you're competing, you need to have an understanding of your opponent's mentality.
Yeah.
Guys and girls don't think the same.
Exactly.
Okay, maybe modern times now everyone's equal and all stuff, but I think at some point, even a small percentage, we think differently. Decisions I make in competition are based on my personality. I had to learn to be more confident and be more risk taking because I'm naturally very risk averse, which made me lose a few fights for a few years. I think about 3-4 years. And then it was just the last 2-3 years of competing was when it kicked in because my personality. So when women train together, they have a similar experience in life,
Yes,
similar
yes,
personality to
yes,
each other,
yes, yes.
and they felt much more in sync sparring with them.
Yes. And especially for competition, since women will always fight women in competition. So I think this the women's class. Oh,
Women's
sorry,
gym,
women's class.
you can't get enough numbers. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
hard.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's
That's
very,
another
it's very
thing.
close
I mean, that's why they have
contact,
Koa Fitness. I'm not sure whether they're still doing things, but Koa Fitness,
yeah.
there's a women's only gym in
But
KL.
if you're saying most gyms or you just started as a coach or just started as a gym, you have ladies in the room. I don't know, especially Malaysia. It's a a strong Muslim culture.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of ladies
Yes.
like I used to spar with it's an Egyptian family, a young Muslim girl. She's about 16. Always had to fix her
hijab.
hijab.
Yes, yes.
You know, they of course they have the sports hijab, it holds
I
a bit
mean,
tighter.
kudos to those kind of ladies
Yeah.
who somehow the courage to be around.
I mean, the Australia was very. When she competed, her hijab came off a few times. So of course, I mean, I wouldn't say of course, but a lot of the competitors that she had helped her cover up and helped her waited for her to finish fixing or because it's grappling, it's wrestling.
Yes.
So of course you'd be pulling.
Yes.
So when you have situations like that, it's very tough.
Yes.
So you need a room that's very understanding.
So instructors, gym owners, we have to make conscious effort
yeah.
to
Every day.
include female gender.
Even if there's no girls in the room,
Yes.
if you want to be welcoming to ladies one day, you need to prepare the
you
room.
need to prepare. Yeah.
You have to make sure the room is
Gender
prepared to welcome
inclusive
them.
modalities. Yeah. And I think that covers for even in Muay Thai, right?
I would say that Muay Thai is slightly different.
Like in my case,
situation.
it was hard for me.
Yeah.
I didn't finish that story. But the more interesting part of that story is it was hard for me because I never touched a woman in my entire life.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm looking at this lady and we are supposed to spar together. And I'm a bit confused. What do I do? And then she muttered certain words to me. She said, please take it easy on me. I said, okay, no problem. And then we are going. All of a sudden, man, she's...
Yeah. She's
And
saying
I'm
you're
like,
hard.
okay. But I couldn't do anything because, of course, that's my nature, right?
Yeah, of course.
So how does your discipline take care of these kind of scenarios?
Well, I have a sister. She beats my ass, and
Because you got lazy.
yeah, I got lazy too. But no, she still gets me good as well. But obviously, I cannot hit her with my full strength, and she knows that as well.
Yes.
But it's this respect that we have for,
Yes.
and also in Muay Thai, you don't have to go 100%.
Yes.
You can go at the same amount of intensity without the same amount of strength.
Yes.
That's when you have discipline and control.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and I think especially for women, I feel like it is my personal opinion. It's fair to treat them and treat them out of intensity. It is unfair for you to use your strength.
To go all
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
For example, if she's not covering up, I'm still gonna hit her, but I'm not gonna like
Give her your 100.
and then like
Yes.
I just beat this like
Yes.
50-kilo girl, and I'm 80
There,
kilos.
there was this video I was watching on Instagram. This guy, I think in South America,
Yeah.
this guy, there's this famous guy. and the girl, they're always sparring together, and the guy goes really hard on her.
Oh yeah.
And then every now and then, the comment section is plagued with a lot of insults.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, why do you have to hit her like that and all? But the guy is, because he's a trainer, right? He's a
Yeah.
personal trainer. So he's always like, he's preparing her
Is
for
it-
what is out there.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
the
I
two
mean,
Brazilians in Thailand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Coach, was it Fabio or something?
I-
with
I-
Alicia,
yes,
the one
yes,
she
yes,
was
yes,
pregnant,
yes,
right?
yes,
They're in
yes.
Thailand.
But I think
Yes.
that
No, but
it's,
they're Brazilian.
it is.
Oh, I thought he's Brazil. Okay.
They're both Brazilian.
They're
but they
Brazilians.
train
Oh, but in Thailand. Oh, yeah.
So she gave birth like 3
But
years
you
ago.
have-
Still training, still hitting
yeah.
pads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you have
respect
to
her.
respect women.
Yes.
Respecting women in the art of Muay Thai, with the Nak Muay as well.
Yes.
To respect your fellow Nak Muay, you have to give intensity. If not, how is she going to get better? That being said, you need to temper that with actual like control.
Yeah.
And I think for me as a coach, when I do see that, a lot of guys, I said, go, strike. I encourage my girls and my female fighters and male fighters to spar. And I always tell the girls, you can go a bit harder because they're dudes, they can take it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to dish it hard, you have to be able to accept that.
Accept it. Yeah.
But I see a lot of guys as well where they go hard with women.
Yeah.
And I tell them to cut it
they
out.
don't give a flying F.
And they don't care. And you know what I do? I say, you want to go hard?
Yeah.
Come with me.
Yes, exactly.
And then you see how
Improve yourself.
and then they always say the same thing. They always go like, "No, I'm not going that hard, coach." It's like, okay,
But
Yeah.
yeah, this is another interesting concept I noticed in Muay Thai.
yeah,
Or maybe because I'm
Yeah.
a beginner. It's hard to even control the intensity sometimes.
yeah, fair.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like Coach Prem would tell me stuff like, okay, 30%. And then I don't know what is 30%. Because like once I release this,
Yeah.
especially when you are like in the spur of the moment,
Yeah.
you know, a hook is a hook.
Yeah.
And
You can't,
yeah,
but I
don't
think
blame
it
you.
comes with time.
It comes with time and also knowing your own kinesthetic awareness.
Yeah.
How much strength you're putting in.
Okay.
Can I give you an example
Okay,
of how to
please.
fix your problem?
Okay.
Go to a heavy bag and hit it as hard as you can. And then hit it as soft as you can.
Okay.
And then you think, what would 50% feel like
Yes.
in between those two?
Okay.
So now hitting the heavy bag and hitting, well, a little bit pads, but mostly heavy bag is learning yourself.
Yeah.
Your range, like exactly, I know from here, I can go a long hook with Nick. I can throw a cross with Nick from this distance.
Okay.
It's just from years of hitting the bag and sparring. I know I can't kick him from here, or I can knee him from this distance.
Yes.
For example, you're a little bit further away from me. I
Yeah.
can teep you and I can roundhouse you with my tip of my foot.
Yeah.
And I can't throw any hooks or anything. My punches won't be able to reach. So
Okay.
this is why you do heavy bag, because you learn that range.
Yes, yes.
and that
So it's
power.
something you learn with time.
But also you
yeah.
need to take practice into it. I think also correct. I think you need that time as well. But you need to not pull your punches in the sense of not cutting your movements short. Complete your movements at 50%. Complete your movements at 30%.
Okay.
And then once you kind of get the feeling, then you'll be able to
And
understand.
for your problem, you fix that with the bag.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Okay, how does 50% feel for me? So you know
Yeah.
what's your 100, you know what's your 50.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm taking something home. I hope you guys are taking something home. Okay, let's move on to the next aftermath and legal liabilities. This is a very critical one because it applies to a lot of persons out there, and I know there might be misconceptions or complete ignorance, right? I am a defender, a Muay Thai fighter,
Yeah.
and someone comes my way, okay, and I defend myself. What if this person gets into injury or some form of maybe a case of fatality? What are the legal liabilities in these kind of scenarios? I think it also applies to BJJ, right?
Yeah.
What are the legal liabilities? Especially most times for a Muay Thai fighter, by the time you do all your limbs and all of that, all the movement, this person will be bruised, like we were discussing. This person is bruised up and is bleeding and all of that, or maybe incapacitated completely.
Yeah.
Now the police comes,
Yeah.
or you are sued in court
Yeah.
for excessive use of force and all of that. How do you defend yourself? Are there legal coverage for this or the legal leverages for this?
I am not a lawyer.
Okay.
Get a good lawyer, get a good lawyer. I think perhaps it's very hard in the life or death situation to dictate how much force is needed.
Yeah.
And I think especially, for example, you have to understand who you look like and what race you are. This is Malaysia, yeah? And
Race comes into play.
Race
yeah.
comes into play.
Of course.
And,
it comes into play everywhere, bro.
unfortunately,
But
so
I think maybe more so in certain cultures.
Yeah, yeah.
especially
Yes,
Malaysia.
yes,
And
yes.
you are African.
Yeah.
So, if you beat up, and even though if a Malay guy beats you up and you knock him out, right? we all know
It's
what's
hard.
going to happen.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately, that's just
Yes.
truth of it.
Of course.
So-
and it applies everywhere, even
Yeah.
like in the case of George Floyd in the US,
Yes.
right?
Even
That was, is that a BJJ move? The knee to the neck.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
My heartfelt condolences to his family,
No,
okay?
of
Yes.
course, of
But
course.
yes, is that a BJJ move?
Definitely, I've done it a lot of times. Okay,
Really?
But yeah. But like, you can gauge how much, you put
Force
your
you're applying.
Of
Yeah.
course, 100%.
But then the use, if you are being sued for use of excessive force, that's now subjective. Because to you, it might not be excessive force, but that guy could just pass out and pass away.
I suppose it's about incapacity, how to incapacitate someone, right? For example, we speak in the Muay Thai perspective, right? You knock out the guy falls.
Yeah.
There's a higher chance of him dying, by the way, because of the fact that...
Really?
Yeah, because if you knock him out, right? Have you seen people get knocked out before?
Yeah. Yeah.
They get
Like,
just...
it's
They get
it
stiff.
might not
they can
be-
even freeze.
And the things that when they freeze, right? And you were talking about people that are untrained. And if you get knocked out, you freeze, you're going to hit your head on a concrete floor.
Yeah, for
and
example.
that can kill a lot of people.
not the damage he caused.
Yes.
but from falling.
Yeah, so that's something that hopefully you never have to do this. But
Yes.
something that you have to watch out for.
Yes.
If you
Continue.
think about liability, right? It's
Yes.
always about a story, I feel personally. Again, get a good lawyer. And deciding what's excessive force is you have to incapacitate someone. That's why generally speaking, it's very hard to knock out someone, which is really good. But you can hit the groin, hit the things here.
But then I think in this case of legal liabilities, okay, I think
Yeah.
this is where
BJJ.
BJJ
Yes.
comes in more practical and handy.
I agree.
What about the legal liabilities in BJJ? For
so-
example, you are sued for use of excessive force during the fuse
Okay,
process.
I'll give you a few examples. Okay, so personal examples. But before that, in Australia, when I was there, I remember somebody telling me, if you get into a fight with somebody, I have to warn him that I've trained before, because it is the equivalent to a concealed weapon.
Yeah.
Because everyone calls me like, oh, you look like a ping pong playing guy. It was you. No, it was this guy. He said, hey man, you look like a ping pong violin playing guy. You don't look like a brown belt in Jiu Jitsu or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, 100%. And then everyone kind of says a similar thing to me, and it's true. So unless I tell you, you wouldn't know that I fight or have fighting experience.
I've seen videos, yes,
Yeah.
where people actually say that when they're about to.
Yeah. So in Australia, if you didn't say it, you're the one who gets in trouble because you didn't tell him.
But what if you tell him and this guy wakes up
Okay.
in the hospital and say, he never told me?
Record.
But yeah, you'll have witnesses or record. But let's say no. Let's say there's none. Okay, so it gets to the fight. Okay, let's say there's no video evidence or pictures, anything. Maybe the witnesses were drunk or something they didn't see. In a real life situation, it was my coach. Okay, in front of the gym, MMA fighters, professional fighters, says Combat Academy right there. The guy, his window gets broken. Somebody robbed his car. Professional fighters right in front of the gym.
Yeah.
And then hey guys, they just finished training. Guys, somebody robbed my car. They checked his phone, and the credit card was used. 5 minutes drive. 5 professional MMA fighters, 2 of them in the UFC right now, went over to the mall, found the guy.
They found him.
They found him. Ooh, it was bad. Found him, pulled him down. Okay, and then everyone, the bystanders, was like, "Hey, let him go," because these are guys who just finished training. They're really riled up. Luckily, they were calm enough to not beat him. They put him on the floor, and the coach, he put him on the floor, held him. The bystanders saying, "Stop, let him go," because the guy was Australian Aboriginal, I think it was. I think that was the situation, because so it looked quite bad.
Yeah.
Now, they let him up.
Yes.
Coach was holding him down. All the fighters were ready to catch him, but they let him up. And the lady was here. So it's a circle. And the lady was part of that circle, holding a stroller. He shoved the stroller. Luckily, one of my training partners at the time caught the baby and gave her back the baby. And he ran. So they had to chase him a second time and caught him. So now the coach puts him on the floor again. There's photos and stuff, and there's news articles about it. There was a video from the
Really?
gym. Yeah,
Touch it up.
Louis Stroh Combat Academy. So this is when I was still training. Australian news. Belmont Shopping Center. So anyway, he holds him down.
Second time.
Second time.
Yeah.
Holds him. And the lady comes back. She's like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for trying to be against you guys. I was asking you
Yeah.
to get up."
Yeah.
And it bit me back, right? So then it lets him up. The security holds him, but they struggle. They're not experienced with holding him
Holding
down.
down. Yeah.
So the security, my coach said, "Hey, I let him go just now." And he ran. Are you ready to hold him now? And the guy screaming, "Hey, you're choking me, you're hurting me." He wasn't. He just held him down. and he said, "Hey, are you ready to hold him? I'm gonna let him go." So let him go. Luckily, they struggled a bit, but they managed to catch him.
To
And then and then there was no long-lasting damage to the guy, and it looked like a quite bad altercation. It could have been really bad. These are
Yeah.
professional fighters.
Yeah.
Okay, since you have it up, so Cody Haddon and
So this
Quillen
is the guy?
Salkild. So Cody Haddon, he's not the coach, but yeah, Quillen Salkild
Oh.
as well. So they're both in UFC. So I used to be with them. Then there was a whole situation. But
Interesting.
anyway, when I was still with them, this is one of the situations I can recall
Situations, yeah.
where grappling came in handy
Yes.
and hitting would have made it a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see.
Because that will attract a lot of media attention, legal liabilities.
Yeah, looks worse.
Yes. So there was a few news articles about this. I think two, and some videos or interviews with my coach, and my coach at the time. But this is a really good example of where striking would have made it worse, and grappling actually kept everybody liably safe,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
yeah.
everyone could see there was witnesses and and the guy he was still fit enough to jump up and run,
Yeah.
and then they had to catch him a second
Yes,
time. you
yes.
see.
So no damage.
It could have been really
technically.
bad though. This,
Okay. So in that situation, BJJ comes in handy compared
Yes.
to Muay Thai. These are for people who might be torn between the choices of grappling or striking, Muay Thai or BJJ. So we're looking at all the misconceptions. We're looking at the differences, the advantages, the disadvantages. So I hope at the end of this episode, you can make a good choice. Yeah, we go to career and gains. Not everybody can be John Jones, of course. Not everybody will be in the peak of the biggest stages in the world, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that you also have an idea of Muay Thai.
yeah.
So, and you also have an idea of BJJ. So, this is interesting. So, between Muay Thai and BJJ, which one promises a better future prospect for a competitor? A young guy at home now, 10, 11
is
years,
he-
he wants to build a career. Which of these gives a promising future when it comes to career achievement?
Are you asking if he only stayed in the sport or did he
In the
switch?
sports, in the sports. All things being equal, there was another guy like him in Muay Thai. And this guy is in BJJ, right?
Oh,
We-
my student.
Yes, your student is in BJJ, right? So, which is promising when it comes to career prospects in general, globally?
I think when you're talking about career, you're talking about if you was to do this for an occupation. You want to do this as a job. Occupation meaning you're able to sustain income for a family, yourself, right? And anything else in between. I think it's no different than any other sporting career, but you have to compare it to other sports who are like in the middle ground. So you can't tennis, basketball, and NBA.
Okay.
You can't compare it that way. Football,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
those are special. Tennis, golf, So you want to go one tier down, where it's kind of sitting there. For example, what's some examples could bring? Badminton?
Badminton.
Maybe badminton?
Badminton is still
Yeah.
still not the same, I would say.
Yeah. Well, maybe right below badminton. Bit more niche sports. That's the category you have to think. So you
Okay.
watch athletes in that and see how they progress and see what's the highest and lowest. And I think that's will give you a good idea of Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu. Specifically I'll talk about Jiu Jitsu first. You want to build up a career all the way till you go to ADCC right now.
What's that?
ADCC is a specific rule set. So imagine if a Muay Thai fighter, he started as a Muay Thai, which is quite common, and he moves into MMA or kickboxing. Now in Jiu-Jitsu, there's no real set rules for Jiu-Jitsu. I think people don't understand this. There's no tied rules to the sport because there are many different types of rules, okay, which makes it very confusing. So when I had to be a coach, I had to teach the kids class, very confusing, 3-4 different rules. And they had to understand 3-4 different types of rules. And I had to teach that to 6 to 18-year-olds around that gap, for kids, 6 and above. So I had to put it quite simply. So Chase is one of the
He's 10
good
years.
ones at this time. So I think about 11, 12 now. Yeah.
Nice.
So he's
Strong
still
guy.
very strong, very fit, very hardworking.
With 10 gold medals.
I think more. I think he had more than that. I can't remember. Yeah.
Interesting.
But anyway, it's
20 gold medals.
yeah.
Wow.
So when you were going, if you're thinking about going, at this moment right now, it will change. It might change. I don't know how. The ADCC has the most money, most bang for your buck when you go to compete. It's like the Olympics of grappling because every 2 years.
Okay.
ADCC, Abu Dhabi Combat Club, where everybody went. If you were ADCC champion, you're the best in Jiu-Jitsu in the world. You're the best.
Interesting.
But catch wrestling is another type of submission wrestling. Sambo guys, judo guys, wrestling guys, they all went to compete. But Jiu Jitsu guys used to go on top because they can do submissions. Submissions usually won.
Yeah, I mean, even in UFC, you see these Russian guys, Khabib,
Yeah.
back then, his cousins, he has two cousins that are undefeated, right?
Yeah.
And
Umar,
then he has this other guy, Makachev,
Islam.
and then they are all doing very well. So it gives
Yeah.
this, I would like call it illusion of feeling that BJJ is more.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not strictly BJJ.
But yeah, if you're asking about strict to the
Strictly
sport,
BJJ.
Okay, yeah.
no. You have to switch to ADCC, which is kind of BAJ. But Muay Thai,
But you have
one
to-
championship?
You have to understand with first off, if anyone is thinking about it, don't do it. It's a shit life, and unfortunately, that's the truth of it. Even for BJJ, oh my-
Really?
it's terrible. You don't. How much money do you earn from your competitions here?
No.
Here,
Here,
right? For example, right?
no way.
And how much is it to travel to ADCC? Just think about that cost alone.
Yeah.
And then you have to compete with the best of the best.
And it's like it's only the top winners that really
We're
make
talking
it
about
big.
top in the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Top.
Yeah.
This is why
The top of
I-
the top.
And so
Yeah.
and so Muay Thai, for example, right? Let's take it from the Malaysian perspective because thankfully we live close by to Thailand.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
so it's not so far.
Yeah,
But you also have to understand you're fighting against people. They've been training since they were 6,
6.
and all they do is do Muay Thai. I'm not saying that you can't win. Johan, I think
Johan Ghazali,
Johan
yeah.
Ghazali is doing right now really good.
17 now?
17 now.
From Sarawak.
Sarawak.
Yeah,
he's
Johan
in
Ghazali.
he's in 1FC now. But the pathway to 1FC is rare. I think, and you have to really fight here. So if
Yes.
you go professional, they don't earn much. If you start from the bottom ring, it's about 1,000 ringgit if you win.
if you win.
And that 1,000 ringgit is rare, by
And you
the way.
split with the coach.
Yeah.
You pay the transport fees.
And that's
And you've been training for months.
no, you train for months and you train for years, by the way. So Muay Thai prize money is shit. So how do you earn a living from that? You then coach, which I think there is a higher chance for coaching because you can then go to tribe, you can go to a bit more commercial gyms. But let's just say you're talking about competition. You fight.
Yeah.
You fight all the way to 1FC. If you are lucky, you get to 1FC. And 1FC, only then you get paid okay. And that's
If you
worth
keep
your
on
time.
winning.
And you have to keep on winning. And
If
that's
you lose-
worth your time.
Yeah.
You know? So, and I say,
So it's not something promising.
it's not something promising.
Having said that, you wouldn't advise your son to go into.
I would do it. I wouldn't advise if I had a son. No.
How about you, Alisa? Would you advise your son to go
I
into
told
BJJ?
my wife, 100%, my kid's minimum green belt, which is right before
I think training is fine.
training is fine.
But like
just-
competing.
Yes,
Competing,
competing.
yeah.
is-
But I don't recommend them to.
It's a
I
hard
wouldn't let them
competition.
go professional.
It's a hard life.
Really?
And I think, do you want
So
that? for-
these big guys we're hearing all over the world, these UFC guys, they are one of
1%.
every.
But you're talking
Yeah.
about UFC as well,
Yeah.
right? So if you're talking about a specific sport, Muay Thai sport is so big. There's a world champion every day in
every
Muay Thai.
There is
New
There's a
champion every
new
day.
world champion in Muay Thai every day
every day.
because there is no unified Muay Thai. Of course, you have Vajradhanam, Nupini. These are the things that are obvious that like, okay, these it means you're good, right? But it's not just because you win Vajradhanam. There's another guy winning another world championship in another organization.
Another organization. Yeah.
So the organization of all this is quite hard,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the pay for it is just as bad.
yeah. It's
if-
not like football that incorporates.
No,
Yeah, everything.
no.
Because you're talking about people, just the general viewer, somebody who's never seen the sport before. If being okay, one of my ideas when I was in Australia, I was gonna open up a company that is a consultancy for gyms.
Yeah.
That was one of my ideas. So when I was studying that, I was thinking one of the main things you have to change for a sport is how quick can an audience, just a random audience, never seen the sport before, understand the sport. Basketball is easy, football is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One team starts here, other team starts here. The ball goes this way, you cheer for that team.
Yeah.
They score. Okay, they don't score, you're a bit sad. Other team goes there. Very simple. Muay Thai. Okay, if he's moving forward and I'm moving back, who's winning?
Yeah.
The judges change their mind all the time. Like, is the guy moving
Yeah,
forward? winning? The guy-
yes,
yeah.
the judgment is very subjective.
It doesn't feel fair.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Thanks, guys. Let us quickly wrap this up, and we have a few more questions, but we'll just try to rush all of them
Yeah,
all
okay,
through.
okay.
I mean, we're having a great conversation because otherwise we would have been quiet, right? All right. Show us or tell us. Okay, you can't show us unless you want to show us.
Is that what you meant?
Do you have a volunteer?
I think we get someone.
Mr. Producer, no. We need producer. All right. Can you tell us one move to subdue an attacker? BJJ.
One move?
One move.
One move. Cannot be
Okay,
combination,
okay.
huh?
Okay, no combination.
Yeah.
It's called a mat return.
What's that?
Mat return.
Okay.
You know when somebody's behind you
Just show.
and they hug.
Okay.
I'm gonna show.
Can you guys
Would
show?
you like me to
Just
show?
show. Just show.
Do you want to show? Do you want to?
Just
No,
show.
no,
Just show.
no,
Just
no,
show
no.
me. Just show me. Just show
Maybe
me.
I'll show Nick.
And Ingrid's
But
gonna
hope
be-
nobody's
Is the,
passing
is the
out.
mic okay? Okay.
Okay.
No,
I
nobody's
swear to
passing
God.
out.
Nobody's passing out.
But it's called
Please,
the-
Mr. Producer, come on.
No, no.
Can this cover it? Okay.
No, wait.
Okay.
So
All right.
I won't put him on the floor, but let me show you what it looks
Okay.
like. Okay,
I'm on the
so
floor slapping
pretty
shit
much-
out.
Just one move.
Okay.
BJJ. Okay.
pretty much your aim is to go behind him.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Sexy.
you hug his hips and you put him on the floor. Okay, and I do this to heavier guys all the time because there's easy way.
Even
to
heavy guys.
yeah. So here, my hand goes far, and I lock.
Okay.
From here, I can lift, and I can put him on the floor. If he's much heavier, I can trip. And I go back.
Okay. Tripping.
Yeah. Okay, now if you're asking me,
Yeah.
if you're asking
Thank
me,
you very much.
if you're asking me,
Yeah.
if he gets back up, you are still holding his hips, and he puts himself back up to the same position we were in. Okay. Now you ask me, why is that the one move that you do? It's because your only goal is not stay in front of him, is to go behind him. So if I was to tell you, only go behind him, don't stay in front of him, that would be the only thing you're thinking about. You don't know about the rest.
Okay.
So if you had told me only pick one, this one I would do. And then I'm less tired than him. And now he he
yes.
gets up.
Yes.
I trip him again. I get
Yes.
up. I trip him again.
Trip him again.
You see?
But is it easy to switch to an offender's back?
Oh, very easy. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, very easy. Okay, interesting. How about you?
you want me to
us
show
one
on
move.
you?
I think works for everyone. Clinch and knee.
Clinching.
Clinching and knee. So it's just very simple.
Okay, interesting.
So let's just say, even if it's taller, right? So since my height, I'll just grab it like this. Yeah, just grab. So someone
Okay.
tries to grab me. Someone tries to grab me. I'll just grab his head, bring his head down,
Yeah.
and I'll just bring my knee, and I'll just right in the balls. Or if you're really athletic, you can bring it up to the head.
Okay.
Because just with this control here,
yeah.
I can just move him here this way.
Nick, I can see you're already in the mood.
He's the one that picked me up. No one picks me up. No one picks me up on the podcast.
I can see your face. You're already getting in the mood. All right, let's get back to
No one's picking me out on the
podcast.
podcast, dude.
Interesting, guys. Yeah,
I feel like a baby,
thanks.
you know.
It's so
Everybody,
interesting
everybody,
to
man,
have
everybody.
professionals like this show and tell us about these
Yeah.
disciplines. Okay, so
Was he able to see in the camera? It was okay.
yeah. I think this
that one.
If he didn't cover it, Mr. Producer, we have to show us the move.
Okay, maybe this one couldn't see.
Hopefully,
it.
hopefully.
All right. So we go to, okay, I would have to skip some, but tell me, what personality does your sport attract? And what personality does it build? Because Mike Tyson said he was always getting in and out of jail, always getting into trouble, but when he got into boxing, boxing was a way for him to channel all that energy, you know. So what personality does Muay Thai build? What personality does it attract?
I think for me, it attracts a lot of like hyper masculine, really want to hit people, angry men. Some generally speaking, and then
Because when I was looking at your face just now, I mean, you're already in the mood.
Because I can feel it too. You you don't have to look at him. You can feel it.
yeah.
I think we were ready to.
It's like you just needed your gloves and let's get going.
I was like, he picked me up. He started it.
Clinching, you don't need gloves as well.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we were ready.
Yeah.
You were ready.
It's easier. It's easier, right? I think it attracts people that like.
Violence?
Yeah, I think that's the truth of it. But and you have to like it. You have to like hitting someone, and you have to like getting hit sometimes. You know, you have to understand that.
You have to be used to it.
Be used to it and love the violence. I still have it in me. You know, this little like, yeah.
And guys, just to clear it up, when someone says get used to violence. It doesn't mean that you always have to
Be violent,
apply
yes.
it. Because like I watched Adesanyan's clip one time, someone was confronting him in front of a mall while he was parked. And he's just mouthing words at this guy.
Yeah.
You would think that a pro like that would just go all in, you know, but he was there just mouthing words, exchange words, and then he left like a nobody.
Yeah. And
So
yeah.
the threat of violence is what keeps violence away.
Correct.
All right, continue.
I agree, and I think, and I hope when I was teaching my students, I'm building people that are more confident and more disciplined. Because when I teach Muay Thai, it is about discipline, and it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Right? It's very typical.
That's a wonderful one. Going in for Instagram reel.
Very, very good Instagram reel that people quote to death. But because it is better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. You
Interesting.
know? I think that's very common, but I think that
I'm hearing it for the first time.
but the reason why you want to be like that is because you are calm. Because
Self-control.
Yeah, self-control, and you teach self-control, and you're more disciplined. And I fell in love with the art of Muay Thai, and it's made me better. You know, and of course, it's a way to you still have that feeling. You know that I even tell my partner like I have this itch that I want to fight. Like I'm ready for a fight.
Really?
Yeah, you know, but
You
it's
always get that.
but you always get this feeling. Yeah, you get it too. You know.
But funny enough, you hardly see pro fighters get into street fights.
Of course, because
Very rarely.
because we understand the risk.
Maybe
All
I
right,
can
back to BJJ. What personality does it attract, and what personality does it build in general?
I think BAJ would be no different from Muay Thai because it is a fighting sport. So the differences are not very wide. The main thing that changes who is attracted to the door is, like I said, the culture made by the coach in the gym and the people around the gym. Because we're on this topic, this is one of my favorite stories for fighting. This was told to me by one of my coaches. Remember there was this the Samoan and the Maori guy? When I went to fight, when I had my Muay Thai fight, there was these two huge 130 something kilos. When they push the rope down, because you can't, if you have the Mongkon on from Muay Thai, you can't go under the ropes. You can only go over. So I had mine on, I went over. And they pushed the rope down all the way to my knees because they were that big. So they pushed it there. Now, one of them, he grew up in a very different time in New Zealand. He is closely tied to City Kickboxing, which is Adesanya, Kaikara, France.
Oh, okay.
So we were tied with some of their training partners. So one of the main training partners for Kaikara, France, he used to train back in, when I was in Australia. And it's also close by. Now, my coach, God bless him, I think he's still quite ill nowadays. I haven't heard from him much. But when he was growing up, it was kill or be killed in New Zealand. And especially a big guy, he had a lot of power. And it was really scary fighting in those days. It's not really well documented,
Yeah.
So when he was coaching, he eventually became a coach. So before he was a fighter, transitioned to a coach, he was, I think, about 40s, mid 40s. And he had to leave the gym, and all his students were left at the, to take care of themselves. And he said, guys, I want mouth guards and headgear and protective equipment every time you train, every time you spar. I'm away, you guys are adults, you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So he goes away for his trip. I can't remember where he went, and he came back to the gym. More than half the gym's gone. He said, guys, where's everybody?
Wow.
Coach, concussions. They went too hard when you were away.
When you were
They couldn't control themselves. No headgear.
Self-control.
Did they wear headgear? Did they wear mouth guards? No, coach. Oh, wait till what happens. Everybody comes back a couple of weeks later. Coach is sitting early in the middle of the gym. Shin guards, gloves, mouthpiece, classical music playing. If coach is playing classical music, you know you are gonna die today. That was my favorite part of the story. So you can hear, the guys could hear the classical music from outside, from the parking lot.
It's threatening.
And then he says, guys, so everyone walks in shivering. They know coach is, something bad's gonna happen. Now you see him with his sparring gloves. He said, everybody, put on your sparring gear now. No mouth guard, no headgear. And then everyone gloves, and he beats the whole gym an inch from their life, all the pro fighters. And he said, you guys want to know what consequences are for not taking care of your training partners? This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And he beat the whole gym. And then that day, and everyone wore a headgear and mouth guard ever since.
Yeah.
So what Nick was, and I'm trying to get at is, we understand the consequences of violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, not to the degree of my coach, but that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite stories because in his day,
Yeah.
if you mess up, it's your life.
Yeah.
He had a lot of friends who died from fighting.
Really?
So yeah, definitely. And the other guy, he unfortunately passed away as well from brain aneurysm.
Yeah.
The other guy who was in my corner. So you know, very dear friend of mine as well. But it could have been from the damage from fighting. And they had a lot of friends along the way who passed away as well. But these young guys didn't understand that they grew up in a bit of more softer kind of crowd. So he had to show them the consequences. And me and Nick have felt the consequences of playing with violence.
Yeah.
And if you play with violence, it bites back harder than you think.
Yeah.
So it was.
I love the way you calmly put it. It's like you're giving a very subtle warning. Stay away from violence.
Yeah, but that's why you train. That's why you train.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, we're gonna take our last question before we wrap this up. It's been a great conversation today. Muay Thai versus BJJ for the ultimate self-defense. What does mastering Muay Thai feels like to you? I mean, for competition purpose.
For competition,
Yeah.
and then as a martial artist, I think mastering is you never master the sport. And even when you are 40 and you've been fighting since you're 6 or 16, in my case, you know, you're always learning something. You can always be better. You can always control more. You could always find the timing better. And for me, because I'm a bit of a nerd lah, is learning each of the disciplines and the styles of it and trying to use each of your 8 limbs effectively. There are 28 elbows. You know that? 28 different ways to elbow.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so many ways to knee. And every day that if you Google and you actually research, there's so many ways to kick, to punch, to time, to move, you know? I think complete mastery, which is hard to see. You see in like maybe Letsila or Senchai or you know,
had him up just
or
now.
Rod Tang, you know? Like Rod Tang.
Tang's still young.
Rod Tang's still young, you know, he's 20, but he's amazing already, right? Is control and being and timing, especially in the striking sport, is that, and be able to use the tools that you have trained effectively, you know,
Mastering your, yeah.
whatever that means to you, you know, because
Interesting.
everyone is very different.
BJJ, in a minute, I want you to tell us a bit about mastering your sport, what it looks like.
In BHA, I tie it together with what we're talking about success in the sport looks like.
Yeah.
That's what you would call mastery. If you're able to win in jiu-jitsu matches and grappling matches in any other rule set, gi or no gi, which means in the rules they let you grab the clothes, and in the rules they don't let you grab the clothes. These are two different main paths. If you can win in all those different rule sets, you would have true mastery.
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't need to talk about self-defense anymore. You have all these rule sets to compare yourself with.
Yes. Yes.
You have definitely
Yes.
gone to a
Everywhere you find yourself, whether it's the one with the rules or the ones without the rules, you can always sail through.
yeah.
Interesting, interesting.
yeah.
Lastly, one very important question I want to ask, right? When it comes to hierarchy for BJJ, it's easy to say brown belt, blue belt, black belt. How about Muay Thai? You said there is none. So how do you categorize fighters based on experience?
By the amount of scars they have on your face.
scar tissue.
Scars.
How many stitches
How
you
many
have?
stitches do you have? I mean,
So you are a novice because you have no scar.
No one.
yeah. You know what? No.
You can show us whether or not you are
He's-
experienced with this guy.
He's trying to conclude that I'm better than you.
Oh, okay.
No. We do this behind camera.
We have the camera. We take the cameras out. I think, how do you tell? Of course, there's no clear. Of course, you can look back fights.
Yeah.
How many fights have you had? And compare it.
Like records.
Like records, right? How many fights you had, professional, amateur, right? Of course, there's very clear indication. I think for me as well is how the person moves. You watch someone, you can tell, you know. But I think that's what I like about Muay Thai. It's you come in, you show what you got, and then people can tell. There's no belt that says like, oh, you're a blue belt.
Yes.
Therefore, you're this.
Yes. Because the belt, like you were telling me the other time, a brown belt
in one particular region
Yeah.
could be less experienced or more experienced than even a black belt in another region.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been very wonderful, but there is something I'm going to do because there are some questions, there are some comments. Guys, thanks a lot for joining us live. There was a comment that said, I want to see the host take a liver shot. That's from my former coach. It's not happening. Your wish will not be materialized. All right. And then we have a question. We have a very nice question. How long do you need to place someone in a choke hold before they pass away?
Oh, they pass away.
They pass away.
They die.
Yes.
Okay.
How long?
Okay. So
Let's show it now.
so Nick sit here. Okay, so a choke is not
I want us to breathe because I also have a few questions. So let's do it.
statistically. It's best to ask a doctor. What happens really is not the windpipe. It's the carotid arteries. It's blood being transferred to the brain. That's what you're talking about when talking about chokes. That's why people go out. If you hold it for about 7 seconds and let it go, he wakes up no problem, right? But if you hold it for like 15 to 30, then he might have some
Brain.
some kind of short-term issues, maybe like memory or something, nothing major. But you have to hold it for like a good minute or 2 minutes, which is a long time. Have you ever sat there doing nothing for a minute, 2 minutes? It's a very long time. So you have to really hold him.
If you hold it long enough, someone can actually die.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it takes 3 minutes of no blood flow to the brain to die.
Blood flow.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
So it's
But
best without the arms because there's a lot of padding from the muscle. So that's why people usually use rope if they were to do it or clothing.
yeah. So it's about
Interesting.
about a minute, I would say minimum.
At least. But again, you have to ask the doctor how long without blood circulation to the brain.
3 minutes.
It takes.
It's
That's
3
the
minutes.
question.
3 minutes before
Interesting.
brain damage.
So that would be.
There is something I've always wanted to clarify. I didn't ask you when we had a conversation. I watched a video sometime on Instagram, and these guys were training, like I think it's a BJJ class or something, and then they just touch themselves behind the ankle area, and they fall down. Is it true?
No.
Huh?
That's not.
What?
That's,
But I've seen-
You know,
I've
Muay
actually
Thai
seen it.
and,
The cheese.
I've seen it several
those kind of
times,
things, yeah.
several times on different videos. They just touch them gently at the
leg or
ankle,
something.
and then they just trip.
Is it BJJ or is it like those
It's
kung fu
BJJ.
or something?
No, BJJ.
Is it like
Are you talking about ankle pick?
I don't know what
Ankle
that
picks-
is.
okay,
They
yeah.
just touch behind the ankle, and this person trips and just. Even I think it was done in one Russia gym where some of these Russian
Okay.
UFC fighters were.
Okay, so maybe I'll clarify this for you. It might be called a low single, which is when you grab the heel and your shoulder pushes on the shin. Okay, so you can borrow your arm.
Okay,
so let's say I
but
grab here.
hope I can continue
No,
this.
I want to.
Okay.
and your shoulder is here. If I push down here, do you see how your shoulder follows?
Oh, okay.
That would
okay.
be the same thing looking like with your leg.
Or,
so
or
my
maybe
shoulder-
it's acting because what I saw was clearly someone just poking behind the ankle, and this guy tripped. And I've seen different videos. People were actually doing that.
That's
Or
pressure
maybe-
point bullshit lah.
Yeah.
point bullshit.
But
Okay.
If
But is it possible?
no, 100%.
But not within the armpit of BJJ,
if
right?
people deny it, invite them to the gym.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think sure.
And I'll play the classical music
Technically
for you.
speaking, pressure points exist. You could hit it, but how well you can do it realistically?
Yes. How perfectly it would be done to have that impact,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Mr. Nick, what are your final thoughts?
Muay Thai can seem scary, and people think it is brutal, but I think if you find a good coach and a good gym with people that can nurture you and guide you, it's a beautiful art. And to be honest, it doesn't matter whether you like Muay Thai or like BJJ. This is a very personal preference. I did BJJ for a year. I didn't want to do it after that because it's just my thing. It's not because of the art was this way or because the art was that way.
Yeah.
It's a personal preference. Some people just don't like getting punched in the face.
Yes.
And you kind of have to be a special kind of fucked up to like it.
Yes.
And I am that special kind of fucked up, unfortunately. And I do like that.
I think I belong to your category.
Exactly. Thank you. You know, and when I get hit, I'm like, yeah.
It reminds you of your masculinity.
Yeah,
of course.
which of course it's a deeper topic, right?
Yeah,
But,
it's a separate
but
conversation.
as long as you can pick a martial art that you are comfortable with and love, and you can enjoy the process of it and not the result of it, do it. You know?
Because the results might not motivate you.
Yeah, because results take forever. It took me 6 months to kick properly, like actually kick properly. You know?
And guys, this is coming from a 7-year experienced specialist. Okay, your final thoughts on BJJ,
Uh,
to anyone listening.
Anybody, I mean, if you want to try jiu-jitsu, definitely try it. But I think that I'm talking to a big group of people who said like, I don't know, I've never done any combat sports before. I have students who started at 40. There's people who start at 60. So it's nothing special if you think that you're too old or too,
Yeah.
you could should have started younger. All this is, it's just as anything else. Okay, a martial art is just as anything else, any other sport where you just try it, you see if you like it. If you like it, you stay. If you don't, you leave. If you like the gym, you like the crowd, it's motivating for you to stay, day after day.
Yeah.
Then you stay with the team, you stay with the sport. If you feel like you don't want to compete, don't have to compete. If
Yeah.
the gym forces you, then it's their fault for not being mindful of your
What
needs.
your interests
know.
are.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's a sport. You don't have to. You don't
It's
have to
something
kill
that should be
anybody.
enjoyed, and that should come from
Yeah.
within.
Yeah,
It's your
As
choice.
a guy who
Interesting.
used to be a coach, a full-time coach, you don't have to compete. You don't have to. I encourage people to leave if it's not for them.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be happy here, and I want
Yes,
everybody in the
yes,
room to be comfortable
yes.
here.
And it's not, for me, inherently, it's not a motivating sport
No.
on its own.
Yeah.
You need to motivate yourself. It's not like football you really could enjoy playing. I mean, I know it's subjective,
Yeah.
but when you're going for Muay Thai, you're going to get hit in the face, or
Yeah.
grappling, you're going to be put on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you drive to the gym and you're feeling very happy about going to get punched. So it's something like he has said, it's something that should come from within. You should fall in love with the sport and you choose it. And having said this, whether you're going for striking or you want to go into the world of grappling, we've been able to understand quite a lot about these two disciplines, guys. And this brings us to the end of this particular episode. I hope you found it insightful. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on board. And I love the fact that you guys also have a bit of an idea of the other discipline. Yes. So on our next episode, we are looking at a particular topic, right? We want to treat investment, crypto or stock, okay? But then we are still open to considerations of other concepts. Like I said before, this or that podcast is a podcast where we talk about easily misunderstood concepts in society. We compare, we contrast, we look at the positive and the negative side of each disciplines or concepts, and then that way we are open to insightful conversations, right? So if you want us to look at any specific topics, you can drop it in the comment section. But we are looking forward to introducing the concept of investment, stocks, or crypto. I think this brings us to the end of this wonderful episode of this or that. And whether you want to go into striking or grappling, I know you are in a better place to decide which, or better still, just get strapped.
True.
All right. The details of our gentleman here, the guest, 7 years experience, 6 years in brown belt and all of that, it will be relayed down on your screen. So if you want to link up with them, you want personal training, I don't know if you do that.
Not
Or-
anymore for me. But
Not anymore, but maybe for consultation, or these are very handsome gentlemen, you could have dinner. Oh, sorry, his wife is here. Okay. All right, so you can link up with them. The details will be relayed down your screen. And then lastly, this is this or that, the professional segment of Wet Water. So you can follow us across our social media platforms, Wet Waters with a Z. Share and like this, click the subscribe button so you get notified every time we drop new videos on YouTube and even across our social media platforms. So until next time, it's bye from here. Stay curious. Bye.
See you.